April 22nd, 2013. And we are going to have with us tonight Kelly Daugherty from the San Francisco organization, which is doing so much to protest chemtrails. She has an event coming up, and we're going to be talking about that event. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that real quickly. Get to that real quickly. Oh, hold on just a sec here. There we go. All right. That's what happens when you're juggling 5 things at a time. But anyway, so we're going to go over a few things and get right to speaking with Kelly and then having an open conversation. If you want to call in and join us by phone, you can call 559-726-1300, and you'll be asked for an access code, which is 156230. Again, the access code is 156230, and the phone number is 559-726-1300. We have this meeting every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific Time, 12:30 a.m. London Time. And if you want to join us by live stream, you can go to new.livestream.com/Global Skywatch. It's one word, all small letters. new.livestream.com/Global Skywatch, or you can use an easier URL. Just go to globalskywatch.com/live, and there's a link there for you. Let's cover a few agenda meeting items, and then we'll move right along. I want to remind everybody that we have the Global Skywatch, the Geoengineering project. If you would like to commit to buying a yard sign to put in your front yard, then please contact me, Russ Tanner, at Global Skywatch. You can reach me at admin, ADMIN, at globalskywatch.com, and commit yourself to however many signs you'd like to have. We had our first printing of 50 signs go out. 46 are out there. I bought 2, and there's 2 left from that batch. You can buy those from globalskywatch.com. Go to the projects link at the top, and then click on the End Geoengineering link, and then there's a link there to order. Putting a yard sign in your front yard is a very powerful way to reach people. So please consider doing that. Also, if you want to be notified every week, we're still using Wigio, WIGGIO.com. You can go there and sign up with the Global Skywatch group, and you'll be notified about these events. Of course, they happen the same time every week. But if you'd like to get a notification, we're using Wigio for our notifications right now. You can also go to livestream.com and sign up, and then follow Global Skywatch. And then if you do that, you'll be notified of the events that take place. These events that take place whenever we have a conference. I don't know if you're notified before the event or not. I'm not as familiar with all the details of that, but as I learn more, I'll let you know. But they do notify you to some degree. The purpose of this meeting, of course, is to introduce new people to geoengineering, which is also called chemtrails. We also coordinate projects. We develop new projects. We continue educating the public and continuing educating each other about geoengineering, and of course we talk, network, and support each other. We also, I have ordered, I made this announcement over the last couple of weeks, I ordered the bumper stickers, the End Geoengineering bumper stickers, and the first batch came back, and they did not print correctly, so I contacted the company, and they reprinted them, and they still had one of the problems that they were supposed to fix first time, so we're having a third printing. So as soon as those are available, I will let everybody know. And the endgeoengineering.com website is specifically designed to introduce new people to the concept of geoengineering chemtrails. It's a relatively small website that's very easy to navigate. It contains 3 videos. It has the illuminization of our soils on the home page, which is a very good way to introduce people. It's a 10-minute video that introduces people to this subject and the damage it's doing to everybody and everything by putting aluminum, barium, and strontium everywhere. And then it has what in the world are they spraying and why in the world are they spraying. which are very easy to find. So if you want to introduce new people to the subject, please consider sending them to endgeoengineering.com. Also consider putting either a globalskywatch.com or an endgeoengineering.com bumper sticker on your car. The globalskywatch.com bumper stickers are available on the homepage of globalskywatch.com. Of course, this is one of the easiest ways in the world to get the word out there to people you don't know. And of course, we need to reach people that we don't know. We need to get out there and reach people who don't know about this yet. So please consider using a bumper sticker. It's a surprisingly powerful and very easy tool to use. Upcoming events on April 24th, we have at the San Francisco City Hall, California Bay Area Residents Against Geoengineering. Kelly Daugherty from that organization is here tonight, and we'll be talking to her in a few seconds. Let me see if there's anything else important that we need to talk about. If you have a skill you'd like to share, if you burn DVDs, if you're a good proofreader, if you're good at writing articles, if you're technically good with computers, or if you're a graphic artist, or if you have any skill, no matter how you think it doesn't apply to raising awareness about geoengineering, chemtrails, please let me know. Contact globalskywatch.com and let us know that you have that skill. Also, if you have a need, you can go to the Global Skywatch forum, and there is a help needed forum. Just go to the forum, which there's a link to the forum on the home page right at the top. Just go to the forum, find the help wanted forum, and post what you need in there. And then I will constantly be bringing that forum to people's attention so they can go and see if they can fulfill the need that you have. A good example is we recently had somebody who ordered 50 DVDs and she needed them printed or burned by somebody, and we have someone who's good at burning DVDs, so that person took care of the burning and then shipped them to the person who wanted to hand them out. That's the kind of thing we need to do when we network. Let's see what we got here. I do want to give a little bit of useful information at the beginning of all of these Monday night meets from now on, because I want people to be able to protect themselves. Of course, that's one of the fundamental things we need to do until we can get spraying stopped. A few quick tips about this, and this is not medical advice, and we don't treat, cure, or prevent symptoms, conditions, or diseases. This is just educational information. Malic acid removes aluminum from the body. So because we're breathing in aluminum particles, those can accumulate in capillaries. And we're having some articles that are going to be posted on the Global Skywatch website about this soon. They can accumulate in capillaries and cause strokes or aneurysms. So it's very dangerous. You got to get that aluminum out. It also prohibits phagocytosis, which is the white blood cell process of gobbling up foreign particles in your bloodstream. You also could consider using algin. I personally love algin. I believe it's extremely important for detoxing radioactive metals, strontium, barium, mercury. One of the problems with many of these metals is they're reabsorbed in the digestive tract, so you need to make sure you have something in the intestines that bind to the metals and make sure they get carried out without being reabsorbed. This reabsorption we call redistribution. You don't want to redistribute these metals in your body once your liver has dumped them into your colon. So algin is very valuable in that regard. Cilantro is very well known as an expellant. It's not generally recognized as a chelator. It actually causes your CNS to expel metals into your blood, and then you need a chelator present. You can use well, there are different chelators out there that you want to use in combination with it. So cilantro is very useful for that purpose, but just make sure you've got a chelator at the same time. Your body's primary way of getting rid of heavy metals is glutathione. That's the natural substance. You can take certain types of like lipid-based glutathione or R-glutathione, reduced glutathione, that don't get destroyed in the stomach, because that's the big problem with getting glutathione, is a lot of it's destroyed before it can be absorbed and used. So you can bypass that problem by taking a glutathione precursor like N-acetylcysteine. Your body uses N-acetylcysteine to make glutathione, so if you have plenty of N-acetylcysteine available, there's a much better chance your body will increase glutathione production and you can get rid of metals faster. Potassium is really critical because barium, which is one of the components that we're finding all over the soils and in the air tests, dust tests, from dust taken from filters, water tests, barium is very toxic. It lowers the potassium in your body dramatically. In fact, barium is used to artificially induce heart attacks in laboratory animals. In fact, in 2011, I had a barium-induced heart attack. It's my postulation that it was barium-induced because there's no other reason, and there was no problem with my heart. I had every test in the book when I was in the hospital for 4 days after my ambulance ride, and I wrote an article about this. I've never been in an ambulance before. The only problem they found was my potassium was really, really low. And barium lowers potassium in the human body. And the previous 2 days we had been sprayed so hard and I was not able to wear a wet mask to protect myself from breathing it. So potassium supplementation is very, very important. Potassium over-the-counter capsules were limited to 99 milligrams per capsule by the FDA years ago. Big surprise there. So now in order for people to get any sufficient amount of potassium, you have to take a whole bunch of capsules, and a lot of people are afraid to do that because it feels like you're doing something really bad. I take a lot of potassium every day. It also helps facilitate the removal of resident barium in the body as well. There are other things I can talk about with health, but I hope that's useful and helpful for the new people who have joined us and the people who listen to this recording over the next few years, as this is critical for saving lives. While we work on getting our government to stop spraying these toxins on people. Now, I want to introduce Kelly Daugherty. She has been founded and coordinating the San Francisco Citizens Against Geoengineering organization. Now they had a very successful demonstration, and we're just going to have a casual chat. If you would like to talk anytime during this presentation, I'm going to turn on the question and answer mode right now.
Q&A session started.
And just press *6 on your phone, and you'll be put in the queue. And when I unmute your phone, I'll introduce you as a new caller, and then you can ask your question or chat with us for a while. The call-in number is 559-726-1300, and the code you have to dial in, the access code, is 156230. The number again is 559-726-1300, and the access code is 156230. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us once again. How's everything going?
Everything is going very well. I'm very excited. We've got 2 days before our protest, and I think we're going to have a larger crowd this time. I see we have about 25 people from our internet group going to the protest, and I hear that a pretty good handful of people who are not in our group, but from different environmental organizations or people who are just concerned outside of the Bay Area, who are going to come and join us on Wednesday at 11 a.m. So I am super excited to see how big this is going to be this time. I know it's going to get a lot bigger each time we have this protest.
That's awesome to hear. I feel very optimistic that the more people who know about this, the faster we'll be able to resolve this, because we need political strength, we need political pressure to get the politicians to listen. And I think getting large numbers of people, is going to give us that clout. I mean, do you think that's part of the solution?
In fact, it's the only part of the solution that we have right now, to be quite open about it, because I know just through the people who are activists online and who have been doing this for quite a while, they have called all of the people that they can possibly call. They've spoken with individual representatives in their area. They have spoken about it on the internet. They have written their letters, And it's, I mean, not that we're not making a progress by doing these things, because I think that's all important, but I think what is going to be a greater impact is the fact that we need to come together in reality, not virtual reality. In reality, we need to bring our numbers in front of our government buildings, in front of our representatives, because that is going to be a huge visual impact for the people that we elect in office to protect us. And we need to get out there, and we need to just make the effort to keep with this and to gather as many people as we can here in San Francisco and everywhere. This has to be an everywhere thing. This can't just be in a few cities. We really need to come out. And even if it is not going to be 30 people or 70 people, even if you have 5 people, that is going to be enough to get people to notice that someone is watching and someone is actually caring about what is going on in our skies and how this is affecting our health in critical manners. And we don't know what this is going to do for our food supply. I mean, we already are in a pretty deep forced drought. And how long can we go on with this drought? Not that long. Our crops are dying. So this is critical. We need to get everyone together that we can. And even if it's not a lot of people at first, trust me, you just need to be the brave person to come out and stand up and show that you're not going to sit there and allow them to spray us like this. And you are going to get tons of people with you. It may take a few months. It may take a year, but we have no choice. We have to get out there. We have to stand in front of our government buildings. We have to tell them that we know we're being sprayed and we don't like it. It's making us sick and it's completely ruining our earth. It's very important. We all need to do this.
Yeah, this is, when you talk about fluoridation, when you talk about GMOs, these things are avoidable. They're not easy to avoid, and they shouldn't be happening to begin with, in my opinion, but they're avoidable. This is not avoidable. In my life, I have avoided things because I'm very sensitive, unfortunately, and so I have to deal with all of this, and I've avoided these things. But breathing the air, this stuff is everywhere. I've traveled up and down what I can personally attest to, since I can smell and taste it. And once again, all my normal listeners, all of our normal listeners, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I do want the new listeners to know that there's a certain small percentage of the population that can smell and taste the chemtrails in the air. I can, and let me tell you, it's not like it's my imagination. It is overwhelming. It burns my sinuses so badly. I spend the day with wet washcloths over my face, held on by Home Depot's painter's mask. In fact, I had it on all day today. We had a nasty spraying day. Probably go outside and see 15, 20 plumes at any given time in the day in the air. So you can't avoid this. So I just agree with you so much, Kelly, that even though these other things should never be happening, like GMOs and stuff, this affects your children, your animals, your plants. It's getting in the soil. We've seen tree damage. I had email today with a woman from Georgia who she has a farm ranch down there that trees are dying and falling over and bending strange ways, all kinds of strange things. There's never been an issue like this before, I don't think. What do you think,
No,
Kelly?
certainly not. This is a worldwide issue, and I just think that if we don't take action now, this program has been going on for quite a while now, and as we all can see, and I think probably the reason why I noticed it a few years ago is due to the fact that they've upped it quite a bit. And so we have a lot more planes spraying us now, and and the reason why we're not getting any rain is because we have much more chemicals being sprayed on us now than we ever have before. So if we don't take a stand right now, if we don't get out there and go to the government buildings of the people we elected to represent our concerns, if we don't do this, then what's going to happen? They're going to spray us more, and maybe what they put in the spray is going to be more toxic because they're going to feel like, well, no one's complaining, or, if they're complaining, it's not anything that bad because we don't have anyone coming up to us and protesting this. We just see a bunch of videos on YouTube, and we can easily ignore those as they have for decades. So we need to all come together and really, really get numbers of people out there. And I also think, and this is of course my personal opinion, I think we need to focus on chemtrails specifically when we are protesting, at least for this, because this issue is so huge, and it's just so dire. It has so many elements that are happening within it. Like you said, our trees are being affected, our water supply is being affected, our air, of course, which we need to breathe, the chemicals in it are affecting us, and our animals and everything. So going and trying to teach people about this whole issue of geoengineering and chemtrails is a pretty big one for people to understand in itself. So I think we should stay focused on chemtrails, just not to confuse the public when we are protesting this issue. I mean, of course, many of us who are awake to the geoengineering that's going on, we understand, most of us, at least the people I've spoken to, the good amount of them know the full ramifications of what is happening, not just in the United States, but in the world. But I still think we need to keep focused on the chemtrails when we are trying to educate the public, when we are coming together in front of our government office to educate the community around us, so they can grasp it. I think if we string out to all different types of things, I think we're going to lose our power of the message of trying to stop the spraying. So I think from my point of view and how I see people react at protests or when I am speaking with them, we want to keep with one subject matter. And I'm almost certain that if we can keep the community educated and focused on the geoengineering problem that's happening, then once they look into this, once we educate them on this, then it's a domino effect, because then they realize, hey, wait a minute, this has been going on for how many years, and our officials have never told us anything about this, and then that's going to bring up other questions in their mind at some point, and maybe just making them aware of the chemtrail geoengineering issue will at least kind of open their minds up to be able to see the full picture of what we know is going on in our world today.
That's what I've seen, very well said. I've seen people get involved in different issues, and they all eventually lead to the same thing. They all eventually lead to them becoming more aware of every other issue, of all of these other things. And right now, chemtrails affect absolutely everybody. But it's as people progress in their knowledge and their study, learning about any one of these issues, whether it's GMOs or fluoride or the vaccine additives and all that stuff, they become more aware of all of the other things. So it's almost like a river. You've got all these people on one side, and you have the brave folks who are currently crossing over, and then you get on the other side, and your worldview just changes within a short amount of time, because you start seeing everything you never saw before. My name is Russ Tanner. This is our live stream from globalskywatch.com. If you want to call in and ask a question or chat with Kelly from San Francisco, call 559-726-1300 and dial the access code 156230. All this information is at globalskywatch.com/live. Kelly, we've got somebody who's called in who wants to talk, so let me just bring them on and let's chat. Hi there. How are you doing today? Are you on, caller?
This is me, Russ.
That's you.
Okay, Russ, this is Dan from Rochester.
Hey, Dan.
I was on last week. Yeah, hey, Kelly, thanks for joining. I think it's wonderful that you're doing as much work as you are, and you're giving us the tips that you are. I think it's critically important to understand the type of thing that you're doing. This isn't something that we can sit in our own homes and bitch about this stuff and keep our fingers crossed that somebody else is going to be doing something about this. It's imperative that we all get off our duffs and grow up a bit and take initiative and stop this stuff. Along that vein, I don't as much have a question, but I just did want to make a comment real quick. I spoke with a few people at work today who didn't know anything about chemtrails, and we were just completely violated today. We were massively assaulted, and it seems to be much more of a common thing now, as I expressed last week. It's getting worse, and it's so much more blatant, and it's obvious that the people who are doing this really don't. They obviously can't care, even that we're noticing this stuff and that we're trying to form groups or whatever. But what I found, my point here is that I saw an article today. A woman had written, and if anybody wants a copy of this article, it was absolutely fabulous. But anyway, she had mentioned that her observation over the last, I think she said years or whatever, few years, that people were starting to act very differently. And she talked at length about chemtrails and the effect of these chemicals on the body. And it's the kind of type of stuff I think, Kelly, that you and it sounded like another woman were talking about earlier. Okay. This stuff and how it affects the brain and this type of thing. And when you consider that there are quite a few aspects of the whole chemtrail phenomenon, it isn't just a matter of spraying and trying to seed clouds or control the weather. There's militarization of this stuff and whatever. And anyway, her observation was that there seemed to be, an awful lot of people out there who give the look of deer in the headlights, that she's asked questions of people and she's noticed that she gets a lot of answers back as of late more so that had absolutely nothing to do with the question that she had asked. So she was making a big point about the aluminum especially and how it affects the brain and that kind of thing. So anyway, with that having been said, this is my main point here, and I'll get off my pedestal. What I noticed today, I actually grabbed a few of my coworkers and walked them outside, and the lines were exceptionally defined today. They weren't it wasn't like an early morning spray where it spreads out and it was all clouds. It was just so blatant, these real tight lines that crisscrossed, and it's some of the worst spraying I've seen. I've been watching this stuff for a good number of years. It was absolutely horrifying today. But anyway, the thing that I noticed, and I think this is critically important, if this is the only point I make, is that what I've noticed gets people's attention is when we are able to bring this to life within their own realm of existence, right? If you can talk about autism and in the research that's being done now and how it correlates to autism, Alzheimer's, and these types of things, and if you can get people to understand that this is affecting them, if you can make a point, and ask them, have you been coughing lately, or do you have a headache? When you can bring things to be very live within their own lives, that is where I see the power of what we need to do. When you talk about things, I don't mean you, I mean any of us. If we're out in the world and we're talking about the chemtrails in Florida, whatever the issue is, if we can't make it personal, I've seen it happen, I'm sure all of you have too. That's when people look at you with their eyes glaze over and they start thinking, geez, I got to get back to work, or I've got to get the kids to the soccer game, this person is nuts, or this doesn't affect me. And the fact of the matter is it does affect everybody, and it affects your pets, it affects your plants, it affects your trees, it affects everything around you. And that, I think, is a tremendous focus that we all need to have, is, again, to be able to make this real and make it very uncomfortable for people to understand that no matter how they're going to go about their day beyond where they are at the point when we're talking to them, they're going to start noticing the sky, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to start thinking, yeah, I do have a cough, and I don't like that, or yes, I have had headaches, or yes, my parents do have Alzheimer's, or whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway, I hope that all makes
Yeah.
sense. I'll stop my point
I
there.
think that's
Thanks for
a
asking.
very
Thanks, Kelly.
I think that's a very good point, and I absolutely agree with you, and I've had a similar result too, because I think it's very easy for us to say, hey, you know, they're spraying us, look at the lines in the sky, and it's changing our weather, and unless people can tie it back into a real experience that they are having with maybe they don't know yet that the spraying is causing asthma or causing some sort of medical problem, or maybe their garden is not growing. And unless we can tie it into something personal to the person that we are trying to make aware of this geoengineering spraying program, I think it's very easy for people to just say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, so what? And it's kind of like the smoker syndrome. You know, people smoke, but they don't know that it's dirtying their lungs, and so they just continue smoking until they end up getting cancer. So I absolutely agree that we do need to tie this into a very personal element for each person we talk to, and I think that's a great point.
Yeah, thanks. Dan's going to be with us in the future. We're going to chat and see if we can get him on here because he's got a lot of information. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate the info, and I look forward to speaking with you.
That's great to be here. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, have a good night.
I'm staying.
What? All right. Yeah, if anyone else wants to chat with us, just dial *6 on your phone, and you'll be entered into the Q&A queue. Would really love to chat with you. Kelly, you've got an upcoming event, and I've been really pushing hard on the Global Skywatch Facebook group and website to get people to get local events in their area that coincide on the same day as yours. You want to talk about your upcoming event?
No, I certainly do. Well, it's I think this event is going to allow me and allow our group to see what we planted from our first protest, and I'm pretty excited. I checked out Paul Mack's protest that he had just a couple days ago, and it looks like he had a far greater number for his, was it his second protest, I believe? It looked like he drew a far greater amount of people. So it just shows you that once we get out there and once we protest, we're going to start seeing our numbers go. Q&A queue is cleared. Certainly excited with this Wednesday protest because I really believe, from what I hear and what people have written emails to me about, is that we're going to have people coming from up in Humboldt, and we're going to have people coming from down south, and they're going to be driving with other people to come to our protest. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a significant amount of people coming this time, and it really just takes a handful of people to just get people to have the courage to come and to protest. And the reaction, the community reaction we had on our first one was just incredible. In fact, when I was walking home from after the protest had ended, and I was walking home with my sign, I had an officer approach me, and he said to me, he's like, wow, what, he called me over, and first of all, I thought, oh no, what is he going to tell me? Am I going to be in trouble? But he was totally cool. He's like, wow, where have you guys been? And I was looking at him like, what? And he's like, where have you guys been? I thought you guys should have been protesting this a long time ago. This has been going on for a long time. And I just...
Isn't that great? That's
like,
wonderful.
wow! Did he just say this to me? And it was incredible. Can you imagine that an officer would say that to a protester? That really tells you there is a great concern going on here, and people don't want to lose their jobs, but that doesn't mean they're not concerned. And so for us, the activists who have the courage and who have the drive and who have the information to bring to our communities, we need to be the bearers of light to help break this open and allow people to come and stand with us so we can be the turning tide. We really need to do that. I mean, it's not going to be anyone else but us, because we're the ones that have the information, and we're the ones who are so passionate on coming together every night, talking with everyone from around the world, sharing our information, sharing our pictures. We know what's going on. Now we need to take this and we need to actively move it into the real world, into our real communities, and help people free up so they can have the courage and to stand up with us too.
Now, your event that's coming up, do you want to give some details of the times and where people are
Yes.
meeting?
So the event that I am having is going to be in front of San Francisco City Hall. We are going to start on the Van Ness side of the street at 11 a.m. So San Francisco City Hall, 11 a.m. on the Van Ness side. And what we did last time is we stayed on the Van Ness side for probably about a half an hour, 45 minutes. That's where you saw all the cars beeping, and it was just so exhilarating to have that type of support. And then we probably gathered close to about 35 people. And then what we did from there is we took our troop and we went around to the back side of City Hall, and that was right before lunchtime, before all of our representatives went out to get lunch. So they would have to wade through us and our signs and our flyers, so they would know that, we are not happy about being sprayed. And if they didn't know about the program, because as Dawn mentioned, the last time we were talking a few weeks ago, there are a lot of representatives that don't know about the spraying. I mean, not everyone really knows about the spraying. Especially the people who are on the lower rings of being our representatives in the community. Many of them need to have the information too, because they simply don't have the information to bring it to people who may be higher up and of greater influence. But anyhow, so we went around to the backside. We stayed there for probably, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes or so. And then after that, we took our troop and we went to the farmers market, which was not too far away from us. It's on not Union Plaza, excuse me. It's on United Nations Plaza. And that was very good to go there because, like your last caller said, you're tying something into something very personal that the spraying does to people's lives. So when we went to the United Nations Plaza and they're having the farmers market and people are buying organic food, then what we can do is give them the information about Monsanto, the spraying of the aluminum and the aluminum-resistant seed, and how this is killing our crops or taking away our organic produce. And a lot of people perked up their ears for that. So I think that is a good thing to realize the type of situations that we are protesting in, and using the correct information for the protest or for the area that we are protesting.
Absolutely, and this is this coming Wednesday, right?
Yes, it's this Wednesday, April 24th, at San Francisco City Hall at 11 a.m. on the Van Ness side of City Hall, which is the front side of that government building.
Now I bragged about you last time when we spoke because you're such an articulate speaker.
Oh, thank you, Russ.
No, you really are. When you respond, it's like you're reading a script because you're just so smooth, and your mind must be laying out the tracks of what you're saying while you're speaking. You're very good at it, And
Thank
just
you. Well, the aluminum hasn't gone in there, I guess.
or your high glutathione maybe. So,
Yeah, that's right.
but you know, when you were speaking, I agree with everything that you said before. And the thing that sticks in my mind when you're talking about people getting out into the real world is you said we. And this is what I'm trying to tell people. People need to know that if you don't already have an event in your area, um, you you ever hear that? Let me just say this. You ever hear that saying that every family has the oddball, and if your family doesn't have it, then guess what?
Oh gosh, I would know nothing
Yeah.
about
Well,
that.
well, likewise, if you're in a family and you've got brother and sister and you have no oddball in your family, well, guess what? You're the one.
That's right.
That along the same lines, if you're not having an event in your area, guess what? It's your event.
Yes.
It's up to you because somebody else has not done it yet for you. And it's not that big of a deal. It's not hard. You don't need a whole bunch of people to get started. You have to be the spark. You have to not be afraid to go out there and be the first person. If there's anyone on this call tonight who wants to have one in their area, wants to know what to do, wants to announce it right now, press *6 on your phone on the call and announce it right now. That's part of what this presentation is for, is because I am trying to get people out there to do this, and I'm also offering the live stream. Anybody who wants to have a live stream to make it a kind of a global event where people can just Skype into me and then talk from the road. All you need is a
That would be, I think that would be great. And just imagine if we could get people coming together for our events, you know, when we have them on a Wednesday, and we'll probably have one on a Saturday at some point too. But for right now, we're going to have them on Wednesdays. And just imagine if we could just have, I know there's the Global Skywatch people listening right now, and if you are thinking, oh, well, I wish I were in San Francisco to have this event or have people with me, you can get those people right in your own town or city. There are people that are willing to stand with you, and even if it's only 2 or 3 people, trust me, that is going to grow, because once you have even a small nucleus of people, that can do nothing but grow. And you know why that's going to grow? It is because you're standing for what is right and what is truthful and what is moral. And just the sheer fact of that, you are doing a great universal service. And that will draw people to your protest and to your information and to what you are saying. And you will find that it's such a wonderful feeling, because you're doing a community service, and it's more than a community service, actually. You're doing something that is just a beyond divinely inspired service. You are helping human beings be able to take control of their own lives and to realize that there is something very dire affecting them and their family and their friends, and you are opening up their entire world, and you are breaking the chains off from what they believe reality is, and you are showing them a light. And once they have this information, they are going to be more empowered, and they are going to be able to carry this information to the people around them. And that is how this works. And it doesn't take a large group of people to do this. It only takes 1. It only takes 2. It only takes 3. So even if you can just get a few people in your area, and especially to stand with us on Wednesday, it's going to make it so much more powerful if we have people from all over the world standing with us. And we're going to be grateful that you stand with us on Wednesday also. So I really hope that we can all come together and make this event a big one, because that is the only way we're going to stop this, is if we do this, if we get out, and if we take the torch ourselves, and we begin the process of getting the spraying to stop.
That's right, and if you're just joining us, a lot of people have joined on the stream as we've been talking. Go to globalskywatch.com/live. You can get the call-in number there and the access code, so you can actually call into the console and you can enter the queue and talk to us. But Kelly is so articulate. She's saying things that are so important. We're talking about chemtrails and geoengineering, which is, in my mind, the biggest issue in the world. I was almost killed by it. I tell people I was almost depopulated in 2011 when I was on my, it was a big event for me. I know people just say you have a heart attack and you put it into this heart attack box in your mind and say, oh, that's what happened to that guy. For me, it was, sitting on the edge of my chair for half an hour, having worse and worse pain, finally being on my knees, tears start coming out my eyes, on all fours. My friend and business partner finally saying, do I need, get an ambulance? I limped to the car, racing in the car. Ambulance met us at my brother's house, and they carried me into the back. Then she raced behind the ambulance. She got pulled over by a police officer on the way to the hospital, but he let her go without a ticket. It was a big event for me. That was in the intensive care for the night. The hospital was packed. In fact, I had to stay in there in the intensive care for much longer because they had no beds in the hospital. Uh, Absolutely packed. And then one of the nights I was in there, they sprayed. The second night I was in there on Tuesday night, they just killed the air. They killed Bangor. They sprayed so hard, and my nurse ended up being gone for 8 hours. My IV alarm was going off all night, so I was up all night pressing the mute button every 10 minutes when the alarm would go back off. And I called the desk twice, and the nurse was gone. And that night that they sprayed the heck out of Bangor, it was by far the hardest night. The reason the nurse was gone is because it was a male nurse, was attending other people on other floors. All the nurses had been called because they were having respiratory and heart issues all over the hospital. And the nurse came back apologizing the next morning, saying, I'm really at the end of the shift. I suppose it was the end of the shift, saying, well, I guess it was because another person came in, was saying, I'm sorry about that. It's been crazy. I don't know what happened. He said, it's just, everybody's getting sick at the same time, respiratory issues, heart issues on other floors, and they're just having me go everywhere. So I'm sorry about the whole night that you were up. And so, to me, that's what happened. I was almost depopulated. And let me get back on track on what Kelly was saying about getting out there, about you can make this happen. Uh, uh, that it's, uh, you ever see those videos in a classroom where you have all these kids in the classroom, and you have a teacher who draws something like 2 + 2 = 5 on the chalkboard, and then the teacher says, okay, um, this is what 2 + 2 equals. Does anybody disagree? And everybody's really shy and really afraid to raise their hand, and they all just sit there until one of the brave, someone finally raises their hand and speaks up. And once one person speaks up, then there's like an avalanche. It goes, yeah, that's not right. I knew that wasn't right. But it takes those brave people to break the ice. You ever see that, Kelly?
Oh, I absolutely have seen that, and that's absolutely right. And what we need to do is, if you're sitting there and you think, I don't have a group to even do something like this on Wednesday, you don't need a group. You just need one person. And through one person's actions, that can just start a huge slew of things. And not just with the community, just even with yourself, and being able to feel like, we're doing something to stop this. And back to what you were saying with the medical community saying, wow, this is crazy in here, and we don't know what's going on. Now, can you imagine if they understood what was going on?
Yes.
Medical community understood the ramifications of being sprayed with these chemicals, and how doctors could be able to diagnose people correctly because they know that we're being sprayed with aluminum and barium and who knows what else. Well, they're not going to know if we don't get out there. They're not going to know anything, and they're not going to be looking up on our YouTube videos either. The only way that the people are going to find out, the people who don't know anything about this program, is if we get out there and we stand in front of our buildings, or or even a medical building. If you don't want to stand out in front of your government building because you're the lone person, stand out in front of your medical building and hand out flyers. Hand out flyers to the doctors and the nurses and the patients that are going in and out, so we can get this information out there so people can understand what's going on with their health, because people are being depopulated, and it is our duty to get out there and let them know what is going on. No one else is going to do it except us. We've all been brought together for a reason. We're all here for a reason. We understand what's going on. Now it is the time to get out there, whether it be 1 or 20 or 100. We need to get out there, and we need to put this information out there to our community at large so we can all come together and understand how we're going to deal with this. Because we're not going to be able to get any sort of handle on how we're going to proceed in stopping this without a good large number of us putting our heads together and putting pressure on the people who are supposed to be protecting us, to make them put pressure on those who are actually spraying us, to get them to at least acknowledge it. We haven't gotten the numbers out or have gotten enough pressure out there to make these people to acknowledge it. And once even if we can get them to acknowledge it, you know what's going to happen? They're going to have so many questions, they're not going to know which way to turn their heads, because there is so much evidence. We have had so much evidence collected of them spraying us for over 10 years that it's going to be very difficult for them to dispute this. And even if they say, well, you know, we had to do this for your own protection, it's not going to stop the fact that they're spraying very harsh chemicals on us, and it's doing some very, very severe and detrimental damage, not only on our bodies, but also on our earth.
That's right. That's so well said, as usual. And, you know, I think about when I was laying in that hospital bed and they were nailing us. And the way I know that they were hitting us so hard that night is that I can smell it and taste it. Once again, it comes out. I can tell you how intense it is in the air right now. It's increased over the past 20 minutes as we've been chatting. In fact, while you were talking, I'm holding my washcloth over my face, and I can tell you which type. This is the chemical metallic type. They always spray this after dark at night, and this causes terrible heart inflammation in me. And I think about that night when I was in the hospital, that Tuesday night when they nailed Bangor, and the nurses were so tied up they couldn't even get to their regular patients. I even missed the test. I was supposed to have a test that night, and it was missed because of the urgency of all the people who were suffering that same night they were sprayed. And it makes me want to scream, because I'm like, it's like the end of the movie The Terminator, if you ever see it. It's like there's one woman who knows that the whole world is going to go into nuclear war, and she drives off into the sunset, into the Mexican desert, literally, and she's the only one who knows. And it's like, I'm the one in the hospital. I know what's going on here. I can smell and taste the massive increase. I had a friend of mine bring my wet mask in because it's the only way I could breathe, and I just want to scream and tell people, do you know what's happening? I talked to the Bureau of Environmental, the Bureau of Air Quality in the state of Maine. I've talked to the head, and I talked to another person who now has become the head, and told them, you know, I can even sit there all day with you and tell you when it's intense and tell you when it's not, so you can take measurements and you can compare and you can, whatever I can do, you know, I will take time out and do this. So it's just, it's maddening. And these people, think about if the nurses for that hospital were all taken up so that they could not attend to their regular patients, how many people have suffered and how many people have already died from this?
Oh, I'm sure just so many. I can't even imagine. You know, it reminds me, a few months ago, I was looking on YouTube and just looking at the overall spraying situation worldwide. I had come across a YouTube video, a woman in the UK who's pretty active in trying to get information from the medical communities on how many people were having breathing problems on particular days which she had recorded that were bad. And it's staggering. And she's been doing, I can't remember her name. I should have probably bookmarked it, but I didn't. But it's staggering. She literally had where she recorded in the UK that the heavy spray days I think over the course of a few years, and then got the records of who was admitted into the hospitals on those heavy spray days. And it was something like the breathing problems went up something like from 10 on maybe a regular day or a light spray day to over 100 people. And this is a small, this is a small town.
Right.
So what are we going to do? Are we going to allow this to continue? And who's next? You've had a heart attack. Am I going to have a heart attack? Or is someone in our queue going to have a heart attack? Is our loved one going to have a heart attack? And are we going to just sit and allow this to happen like this? We can't. We just can't. We have the energy now to search for the information. We know what's going on. And now we have to get out from behind our computers, and we need to put this information out to people in our communities so they can understand what is going on. And we really all need to pick this up. And it doesn't matter if you don't have a group. You don't need a group. You just need you and your heart, and you need your information, and you need a smile, and you need a handshake, and you need to just go out there and hand out the information. And trust me, you're going to get people to come follow you because you're standing up for what is right and what is true. And we've got to do it. Now is the time. We can't allow this to get any worse. We all can see that they're spraying more heavily now,
Yep.
more frequently,
Yep.
and with harsher chemicals.
Yes.
And how long can we let this go on?
Yeah.
We can't anymore. It's not possible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I second and third that. We have a couple people who are in the queue to talk. If you want to talk, go to globalskywatch.com/live. The number and the access code are there. Call into the console and then press *6 on your phone. So let's take a call. Hi, caller.
Hi, this is Gina from Washington State near Portland.
Hi there.
Hi, Jean.
Wondering if there's any groups in my area.
You can.
Yeah.
Well, what you can do, Gina, and what I did is I did a search for your particular area. And I did a search on Facebook, and I also did a search on YouTube and Flickr. So, you put in your town, or if your town's pretty small, you can put in your outline, the city that's the biggest, that's nearest to you, and you can do a search like that. And you know what? Maybe what you can do is even put an ad out for yourself on YouTube or on Craigslist or any numerous type places, and just say, hey, I am a geoengineering activist, and I'm trying to get a group of people together here to stop this ridiculous spraying program. If you've been equally concerned, please contact me. Put some pictures up, put some links up to the information that's easy to understand for maybe the people who don't really know what's going on, that they can easily access certain key points of what this spraying program is about, and you may be able to draw people like that.
Great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, Gina, I also want to let you know and tell you, Kelly, as well, is this is a problem that I have tried to fix, and we're trying to fix at Global Skywatch, is by doing two things. We want to do two things to help people, well, more than two, but at least two things to help people organize. First of all, if you want to find an event in your area, if you're looking at our live stream right now, I'm going to show you, take a look at the live stream. And of course, there's a link to the live stream at globalskywatch.com/live. Just click the icon at the top, and then there'll be a link that takes you right to the live stream page for this event. Look at the live stream right now, and you're looking at our web page. The first thing that we're trying to do at Global Skywatch is we want to make it very easy for people to find existing events. And we're going to make this a little easier in the future. We're actually going to be reorganizing the website over the next couple weeks to make it easier to navigate, because it is a really big site. But here's the page that you're looking at right now in the live stream. If you go down here to Special Features, If you click on that, there's a whole list of features in the left sidebar here. And the first one, and we put it at the very top, says April 20th/24th global events. If you click on that, it has a whole page dedicated to all the events on these 2 days. And as you come down here to the middle of the page, there's an event listing. And we have Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and United States. And just click on what you want. And here's United States. There's a San Francisco event. There's events that we've been trying to put together in Maine, but we haven't had people respond yet. But we're still trying. There's still time. So that's one thing that we're trying to do, is make a centralized place where people can go and see all of the events that are taking place for a particular event. And again, we're going to be reorganizing, but that's how you get to it. You go to globalskywatch.com, click Special Features right there, and then you click the April 2024 Global Events. Come to this page. And if you want your event added to this page, just contact me at admin, A-D-M-I-N, like administrator, admin at globalskywatch.com, and I'll have it added within a few hours. If you, the other way, the second way that we're trying to help people find out about these things is here again, once again, the Global Skywatch website, right here under activism. Activism is right at the top center of the page. Right down here, the second link down is a global events calendar. If you click on that, it takes you to a massive listing of events, and you can post your event here yourself if you like. This is actually a forum, so you'll sign up with this forum, and then you can list your events here. And the really cool thing about this is there's a calendar view, so you can click this link right here, and you can look at the entire month in the calendar view. So here's the month of April, and you can see it's packed with events. And then you can go to the next month. You can look at May, or you can go and look at previous events. But it's all arranged in a nice calendar, and you can add events on your own by going here. So once again, go to globalskywatch.com and click the Global Events Calendar. Now, in the future, we want to make this easier to use and more streamlined, and I'd like to even make it embeddable so other websites can embed this whole service on their own website. So it's just available everywhere. We have one big universal calendar that people can just access everywhere, so you can find an event and list an event or start an event very easily and get it known. So is it Gina?
Gina.
Okay, now you're in Washington State, you said?
Correct.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just spoke to someone in Washington last night. If you want to, if anybody is listening or listens to this recording before, when would you like? Do you have a date that maybe you'd like to see an event happen, or you're just really looking for an event right now, right?
Yeah, right now I'm just looking, or maybe just to find people, that are more interested in this type of thing, so I could maybe help with it.
Have you ever thought about, are you on Facebook? Have you thought about starting a Facebook page?
That's a good idea.
That's what I did. What I did is when I first found out about the spraying and realized that we were being sprayed, and after I went through the rounds of trying to get some understanding through my representatives of what was being sprayed on us, and they absolutely did nothing, what I did is I went and created a Facebook page called Bay Area Residents Against Geoengineering and Chemtrails. And so I sat with that page for about 8 months and by myself. And what I did to try to get people into the page, because it was a little bit difficult at first, but if you're tenacious, you will get people joining. And what I did was go to the Flickr pages, go to the YouTube pages, or just put a general Google search for my town and then chemtrails, and then looked at the videos. Then I saw who was recording this crime on YouTube and within my city and putting it on YouTube, or doing the pictures and putting them on Flickr, and then I would send them a personal email. And I would say, yeah, the spraying is awful, and we need to stop it. I've decided to create a group, and I'm asking you to join my group so we can get enough of us together to have a voice so people cannot just turn us off. And that's what I did. Okay, yes, 8 months was a long time, or seemed to be a long time, before I got my first person in there. But once I got my first person in there, then I think it was only like a couple months before I had 50 people in there, and then 2 months before I had 100 people in there. And now I'm seeing my group grow like by, numbers every month. So now we almost have 300 people. So, you only need a good handful of you in a group to make a difference in a town. So, and that's going to grow. Once you get 10 people in your group, then those 10 people have friends that they know who are recording this crime and who want it to stop, and they'll invite their friends in. So it grows exponentially, really. So try creating a Facebook page and then trying to go to these other social media sites like Flickr or YouTube, and try to pull people from, and it doesn't need to be in your specific town. Try to get people within the outlying areas too, and get them to come into your group, and it will happen. You will grow your group, and then all of you can. You can do so many things when you have a good handful of people. What my group did was, in the beginning, when it was a small group of us, we would call the EPA, we would call the local water board, we would call the local air board, we would call the mayor, and so we would just take turns calling these people every spray day, and you can just do that, and the amount of effort through a group of people rather than one person is great, because when we had like 3 or 4 people calling the local EPA in the Bay Area in one day on a heavy spray day, I can't tell you how exasperated they were with us, and even a few of them admitted, like, yes, it's chemtrails, and, hey, let's make their life uncomfortable, and let's not have these people get off the hook too easily, because they are supposed to be protecting us, supposedly. So, it won't take much for you to start your own group, and really, it's a wonderful feeling once you do, because you're doing a great service to humankind.
Thank you very much. Great information, you guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I will also say to you too. I know you might be off now, but at Global Skywatch, we are absolutely committed to helping you with anything on the web. If you don't know how to create a Facebook group, call me or write me, admin@globalskywatch.com, and we will tutor you. I'll walk you through the process of setting up a Facebook group. I'll make a video for you on, capture it. If you need a website, in fact, a very, very high-profile person that probably most people here know their name just contacted me about a website, and I'm going to I'm going to help them get a domain name and get the website set up. I mean, we've been doing this for years. We're accomplished web programmers, so we can have a website set up literally in an hour. We can get live streaming set up for you, whatever you need, a WordPress site so you can blog, show you where you can get tutorials to learn how to operate WordPress. But if you need this stuff set up, you need hosting for your site, whatever services you need on the web or help you need technically, just contact us, and if we can't help you, we'll find someone who can. So, and we're also trying to get, like I said, this centralized calendar. Well, we have the centralized calendar. We're just going to make it easier to use in the future. But one other thing I'd like to mention, if you're looking at the live stream right now, just take a look here. Also, there's a little link up here on how to create a calendar event. I'm going to click on that real quick, and it actually there's a YouTube video that we made that actually it's actually my voice on it, and it shows you how to create an event just to make it easy until we eventually make the process easier. But thank you so much for calling. All the best, and if you need any help, any assistance, feel free to contact us because we all want to see an event happen everywhere, including Washington.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have some more callers lined up in the queue. So next caller, welcome onto our Monday night meet.
Am I on?
You are on, yes.
I am. Hey, this is Dan again.
Hey, Dan again.
Hey, I had to change my phone number. I figured I'd kind of confuse you here, so you might let me talk again.
No, I'd let you talk again. No, it's fine.
You should call the EPA.
Actually, I have Verizon. My free minutes don't start until after 9. So when I join at 8:30, I have a half hour of minutes I burn, and then I have to join with a different phone. And anyway, a couple, just a quick point or two, and I do have a question for Kelly. And you guys are, I love listening to you guys. There's such fantastic ideas you have. I started an activist group here in Rochester. We met yesterday for the second time, and we're growing a little bit. And it's awesome to be involved with that type of thing because there's such different personalities, no different than if you're at work or whatever. You know, you have to learn about organizational behavior. Everybody has a different way of looking at things. They react differently to different things you say and whatever. But anyway, there's a woman, Sandra. I don't know if she's on right now tonight, but I invited her. I was hoping she'd be on. Hopefully she is. But anyway, this woman, Sandra's wonderful. She's been involved with giving presentations all over the place. She's been involved with all kinds of different business, from what I understand, you know, presenting different business ideas and whatever. I don't know a whole lot of her background. But anyway, we spoke with her yesterday, and she had brought up the fact that and this goes along with some of the things you were mentioning before, that, you know, talking to doctors and different people who might be able to help make a difference or whatever, who may not at this point be paying attention to this kind of thing. But anyway, she did the red wine test. The rest of you might chime in here to, you know, explain what that is. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've heard about it, read a little bit about it, but apparently she had gone in for a physical or whatever, and she had challenged her doctor to do the red wine test. And apparently, you know, you take wine in your mouth or whatever for a minute, swish it around or whatever, and you spit it out or whatever. I don't know a whole lot about it. But apparently the doctor ended up spitting out, and she ended up having, I guess, fibers came out or whatever. And again, I don't know a whole lot of what to look for in the test, what it shows or whatever. But Sandra said that her doctor, there were fibers that came out, and it was like a Morgellons type of indication and that kind of thing. And I guess she said they both start crying. And, you know, that's the type of thing that we need to do. I had a meet with a few months back with my dermatologist, as a matter of fact, and I had these weird rashes and things, and I'd asked him if he knew what Morgellons was, and he said no. And I explained about chemtrails, and he looked at me like I was nuts. And I said, look, you know, take down these websites and read this stuff. I haven't been back. I have no idea if he looked into it or whatever. It's at this point, it's a non-issue. But that's the type of thing. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think it's wonderful that we're sharing information. I think that's one of the most critical things that needs to be focused on, is being able to, you know, allow people even to have websites, for example, YouTube videos, whatever, at their disposal, so they can go home in their free time when they feel comfortable in privacy to investigate this stuff. Because, you know, a lot of people are not comfortable being in the open, right?
Well, it's a big thing. That's why. It's a big thing that's happening, and I believe because of the scare tactics that we can all see being played out in our media, on television, on the radio, on all these corporate media shows, where they're pigeonholing anyone who has any questions about what's going on today. But they've especially attacked us, you know, the activists who are against this geoengineering for years and years, where they said we were absolutely nuts. In fact, I saw a primetime television show on it, and it was one of those crime shows, And literally, I don't usually watch these things, but my husband and I were flipping through the channels, and this came on, and they literally were saying, they were talking about conspiracy theorists, which this is their way to objectify anyone who has any questions about any of these things that are going on, which we can plainly see. And so they objectify us by calling us conspiracy theorists, and then saying, oh, yes, this person was a conspiracy theorist. He believed in chemtrails and that fluoride was poisoning, blah, blah, blah. And, it may seem kind of like, oh, it's just entertainment, but it isn't entertainment. It's absolutely conditioning in the populace's mind. And so whenever they hear these buzzwords that our media has made, or the powers that be have made, in order to implant in everyone's mind, as soon as they hear those buzzwords, then automatically the defenses go up, and you're objectified immediately, and there's no inquiry for these people because they've been violated. They've been violated, and they've had mind control on them for so long, and on us too. All of us are subject to this. None of us are immune, and God knows what I've been completely convinced of all my life, which isn't true. I'm sure there's more than enough things. So we have to deprogram these people. And back to your point in stating that, the way we can do this is causing, showing them something personal in order to unlock these mechanisms that the buzzwords have created in people's minds, so they can get this information and understand what's going on, is absolutely paramount in order to get more people aware and to get more people to stand with us to stop this heinous spraying that's going on.
Well, no doubt. I agree 100%. If you look at things like the concept of the bell curve, when you introduce a product, let's say as a company or whatever, you have a new product line or whatever, right? You look at a bell and you look at, say, the left-hand side, looking at, say, statistics or whatever, as the early adopters start to, learn about the product, they are the ones who tend to buy it early and use it and play with it, and they give feedback, and then more and more people start saying, well, I want to try that, like when the iPod first came out or whatever, initially people were saying, oh, that's too expensive or whatever, and it as it ramps up, eventually you get up to the top of the bell curve, and that's where the masses start to get involved with this whole stuff. I think, Kelly, you had brought up, and everybody has. I almost feel like I shouldn't even say almost. I feel a momentum going, and I'm so thrilled because this is all this stuff. I'm involved much more in chemtrails and fluoride, whatever. There's a lot of this stuff I'm involved with as far as HAARP. I've been studying this stuff way too intensely. That's the way to put it for a long, long time. I really should have a doctorate.
Someone has to do it.
No, Russ and I talked about this last week. I'm a very intense guy. I don't have children. I have a tremendous amount of time to spend on this. I have a master's so far. I think about getting a PhD. And I know how to study. I know how to learn. I know how to figure stuff out. I know how to test theories, hypotheses, and that type of thing. I'm a scientific type of guy, and I understand what's going on. I've shot down any kind of refuting of the fact that chemtrails are real and that kind of thing. I've shot it all to hell. This is real, and it's sickening and whatever. Anyway, what we've got going right now is momentum on the lower side of the bell curve as far as I'm concerned. And as this continues to grow, there are going to be the masses who are going to start picking up on the stuff as long as we continue having a very cogent type of a cohesive type of thought process and going along the lines, Kelly, with everything you're saying. If you go out and you try to alarm people, they'll turn off to it. I've seen it happen way too often. And the approach that I think the people I've noticed are paying attention to this type of thing and getting involved. do tend to be very intelligent people who have a good approach and are able to get people to start listening and taking a look at things. And you are 100% correct. This particular administration, the previous one under Bush, whatever, Department of Homeland Security, all these things that are going on, this really does scare people. And it gets back to an article I saw today where somebody had written about the levels of depression and how people are just going ballistic in their own lives, and how a lot of these psychiatrists or psychologists or whatever, these people who pay attention to the actions of people are starting to notice things that are going way off the board that don't make any sense as far as the stress levels that people have. And it's because people are starting to pay attention to things. I do think they're worried about bombings of Boston and Newtown shootings and Batman movie theater shootings and these type of things. But I have a real hard time believing that they aren't at least even subconsciously paying attention to a lot of other things that are out there in the news and are being discussed.
Hey,
and
Dan,
looking up and seeing the lines in the skies. These
yeah, Dan.
like you.
Yeah, let me add to that as well. Is that as someone who used to be mercury poisoned and who lived with a mercury poisoned person and who overcame it, I also would add to that mercury makes little problems look like mountains. They cause little aggravations in your life that you normally would gloss over and handle with no problem look like insurmountable objects. And mercury is appearing in the soils across the United States. This is on mainstream media, has been. I was following this 2005, 6, 7, all over. They're saying, where is this mercury coming from? They're saying it's coming from China. The California Air Quality Resources Board says the metals that are coming, there are no, these are not metals coming from China. So where is all this metal coming from? And mercury is one of the ones that I'm probably the only one who's talking about this right now, and I don't really care that to be the only one, because it's happening, it's in the soils, and we have to. And from someone who actually was mercury poisoned, I can tell you that there are 2 chemtrail types at least that cause symptoms identical to mercury poisoning based on about 25 symptomatic points. I mean, it is exactly the same as mercury poisoning. So, not only are we seeing all these mood problems, people acting differently, getting depressed, panic attacks, we're all, the metals also contribute to all this stuff too. And, but I agree with you, as people become more aware, it is scary. And that's I believe, part of the reason for the poisoning is that it makes people much less apt to face fearful things. Mercury is actually called the fear drug. It actually induces people to have fear, which manifests itself from anything, panic attacks to depression to social isolation, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, and Russ, I'll tell you, that's an awesome point. That brings up the concepts of things like normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance and that kind of thing. I met a woman. God, this is going back to like 1995 or whatever. I met her on Match.com of all things, right? And I live in Rochester, New York. I ended up meeting her in Niagara Falls, which is right on the border of Canada and New York State. And we sat down and didn't know anything about her, whatever. Anyway, make a long story short, she ended up telling me about how she, at that time, was involved with the programs that the government was involved with as far as mind control and that type of thing. And I was a bit skeptical, and I challenged her. And it was interesting because we sat down over dinner, and she said, well, let me throw a few things at you, experiments, and I'll bet you I can make you say what I want you to say without you knowing that I'm trying to get you to say what I want you to say. And we ended up doing 3 experiments, and I ended up throughout conversations that we had that night, I ended up saying exact expressions that she had written on a napkin and had turned over upside down. I said, elephant tail or something. It was that ludicrous as far as a concept. She wasn't looking for me to say the word, theater or a restaurant.
Yeah, they're obscure kind of words, sure.
Yeah, really bizarre. So anyway, the chemicals that you're talking about, there's no doubt that the types of things that I get upset about, like today, for example, with the heavy spring we had, I was feeling really, my heart hurt. I felt high blood pressure, and there's no doubt that these types of things are going on. This isn't, this is projected. The few times that you might hear the media or the military, whatever, talk about this stuff, the media or the military talks about owning the weather by 2025. There's a reason they say that, and there's a huge aspect of weather modification, that type of thing. But there's so much more to this stuff.
Yeah, there is a lot more. Yeah.
People. But I'll tell you what. Anybody who's on this call right now, I'll tell you what. If you look at any particular type of thing that's happened over, say, the course of our lives, anyway, you do realize that people do tend to start catching on after they're given the right information. My hope, of course, is that, and anybody's hope on this call, whatever, I think we will start seeing being able to present to people in a certain way, shape, form, whatever. I do think people are starting to pay attention, and I'll tell you, I feel really good about what's happening. There's some really scary stuff going on, but at the same time, we stand our ground. We keep focused on what we're doing. This is part of my life. I'm not letting this go. I have passion and energy. I'm in people's spaces. I don't stop. I'm not offensive. I'm very, very matter of fact. I have all the information I need, and I keep studying this stuff. And I do think we're going to be effective. Anyway, I'll get off again. I'll get off my pedestal here.
Have you thought about? I'm sorry, but have you thought about putting your own group together for your Rochester area, because you are so knowledgeable and you seem to be a very good spokesperson and you do have a lot of energy? I think you could put a fantastic group together in Rochester.
As a matter of fact, that's what I mentioned earlier. We had our second activist meeting yesterday. I even had on Craigslist, and the people who are showing up are bringing other people. And the discussions we have, I can see the eyes, I can see people focusing on everything we're saying, and we're enlightening people. And it isn't, it's not doom and gloom. The presentation we have is initially to say, first and foremost, let's all figure out what's going on. Let's get the information disseminated to everybody. Everybody understands all the things that are involved. The most important thing that I see that needs to be presented to people is how to make yourself healthy. Right, chelation, nutrition, getting water filters, get the fluoride out of the water, the whole gamut of things to get ourselves healthy. I just went through a hip replacement last year. Through nutrition, I healed ulcerative colitis. I challenge anybody to get on the internet and find anybody who has ever healed ulcerative colitis. I challenge any of you to find somebody who can say that they have done that.
That's all. That is all. Hey, Dan, we're going to have a lot of time to talk when we have you on, and we'll be able to cover all of that stuff. I do want to make sure tonight we get to the other caller, and I do want to also have Kelly give a few details about setting up an event so people who want to participate Wednesday can. But go ahead and finish up. I don't want to.
I actually do have one question for Kelly.
Okay.
Or even you, Russ, whoever's on the call. And this is just, I don't know this. I haven't researched whatever, but I've noticed you can read about it. You can see the pictures of the videos, whatever people have on the internet. I've done my own observations and stuff. And this really is the last thing I have to say. It's a question. Do you guys know, are there known to be different chemicals being sprayed in different locations at different times? Right? Are we more apt to see lithium than California might see barium or something? Do you guys have any idea on stats on that, or are we all just...
May I tell you my intuitions on that? Of course, I cannot say definitively if that's true. Russ may have a better, since he can smell them and sense them in that manner, he may have a better idea. But I will give you my intuitions on this. And this is just completely my intuitions. My intuition on this is what they're doing is they are spraying a type of deforestation over the Midwest in order to completely demolish the land so they're not habitable there. And so they're going to force people out of those types of farmlands and pull them into urban areas as their Agenda 21 situation that is policies all over the place in the United States and the world. And then I think what they're doing is maybe not spraying such a lethal deforestation. This is just what I've seen on YouTube videos. I've looked at a lot of YouTube videos from all over the United States, and what I notice in the YouTube videos is that the places that are rural or farmlands, you can see that the trees are being demolished and that the plants look weak, and of course the soil is depleted and the corn is not growing. And then if you look in urban areas, you don't see that type of deforestation. The trees aren't falling apart like they are in some of these other areas like Texas or the Midwest. And my inkling is that they're spraying heavy-duty deforestation chemicals on those places to get people out of those areas, those rural areas, which they want to pretty much cut off from everybody. And they're trying to move people into large urban areas. And so I think they are spraying different chemicals in different places depending on what they have drawn up for that particular parcels of land that they're spraying. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I'll definitely contribute in on that too. As someone who can smell and taste chemtrails, there is no question whatsoever that there are multiple chemtrail types and that they are sprayed on schedules. Right now, in fact, after dark here, they always start spraying the metallic chemical type, which causes me to have terrible inflammation, terrible heart pain. I can't even imagine how many people with maybe slightly weaker hearts than me have lost their lives because of this stuff. Because it just it makes me feel like I'm going to die sometimes, and I have to take herbal anti-inflammatories just to be able to function. And they spray this stuff every night after dark. All the other types are on schedules. The schedule's rotated. In fact, I want to show people, right, if you're looking at the live stream right now, this is the Global Skywatch website. If you want to see an article that I wrote about chemtrail types, click right here on Personal Chemtrail Stories. You'll see this link here, and then you see my story listed here. If you open that up and look at my chemtrail story, I've got a whole web page with a list of articles I've written, and over here in the left sidebar, I've got my chemtrail heart attack, but the one I'm talking about right now is chemtrail types. If you click on that, I've outlined 10, and there's actually a couple more that have come about in the last couple of years. A lot of people have reported, and I haven't just had time to update this, but here's 10 specific tastes, flavors, symptoms of chemtrails that I have personally witnessed by taste and smell. So hopefully that'll help some people out. Well, Dan, thank you so much. We got a couple more callers I need to get to, but thank you so much, and please contact me this week so we can talk about having you on. All right, you have a good night. Thanks.
Thanks for the ideas.
Yep, thank you. All right, caller, you're on.
Hello, Russ and Kelly. This is Jim and Dawn. How are you tonight?
Hey, Jim and Dawn.
Hi.
Hey, we're very proud of you, Kelly. You're
Well,
awesome.
likewise. I mean, this is not just me. I want to say this is not just about me and my group, because I'm nothing without the people that I'm with. This is about a group of people coming together, all of us, me, Jim, Dawn, Noah, everybody, everyone in our group, Kate, and we're all coming together, and we're all one together. It's certainly not just my event. It's our event, and this is the way we're going to be able to create this, to grow, to become bigger. We can't attach ourselves to things. We've got to let them grow in an organic way. And so this is, it's not about being proud of me, though I'm certainly grateful. But you know what? This is about all of us showing people that we have courage to come together and to start something like this, not just for our own city, but for everyone who's listening and everyone who will be listening, because we all of us, not just here in San Francisco or not just here in Australia, we all need to come together in Portland, in New York, in Indiana, in Texas, in Washington, and for all of us who are listening here, and who may and hopefully will start a group. This is a giving thing. You're giving yourself. You're not owning anything. You're giving yourself to the community, and you're giving yourself to the people that you stand with out of love. I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure that's out there.
Well, absolutely. You know, it's such a huge thing that so many people are unaware of.
Yes.
And it's, as you know, it's very frustrating sometimes trying to get somebody to understand it and see the difference between contrails and chemtrails, especially when they're flying side by side. But anyway,
we're getting together on Wednesday.
That's what I was just about to say. I hope the weather's nice and we get some action overhead so we can.
I know. I hope so too.
I mean, I'm not wishing for it, but.
But it would be nice to have in order to point out to people, certainly.
Yeah.
But you know what? If it isn't out there, we have flyers describing what it is. And like in our last video that Patrick so kindly did such a great job on, the one woman who was asked if she had seen the trails before, and she said, "Oh yes, I've seen them in the Castro." So you know, these lines have made a deep impression on people, and I think when they see pictures of them, they bring them up into their minds again, because people know deep inside something is certainly wrong with our skies.
Well, you can only present the information and hope that they do something with it.
Yep, plant the seed.
Plant the seed, absolutely. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you and Russ hi, and
we'll be seeing you on Wednesday.
Huh?
We'll be seeing you on Wednesday, or I'll be seeing you on Wednesday. It's going to be so exciting. I think we're going to have a very good group of people. You know, the last group was awesome. You saw how well we did with everyone. Everyone responded to us very positively, and everyone had their unique personality, which was able to get the information out in unique ways, which people obviously responded very positively towards. And I just know that this time it's going to be equally as good, and with more people, it's going to put, like Russ said, that social pressure not only on our elected officials, but on the people who are driving by and beeping and knowing that they need to get up and do something about this, and they can't be quiet anymore. They need us. They need us to get out there so they can have the courage to come out and stand with us.
Yeah, I think we've got Jenna coming with us.
Oh, good.
So,
good. Yeah, we have a lot of people from our group going. I think we have almost 25 people, and I believe it was only about 6 people last time. So, see, this is how it works. This is how it works. We get together. You know, we had about 6 people in our group that was there for the last one, and look what has happened now. Now we have 25, and that's how it happens. Like Russ says, you put it's not pressure in a bad way. It's pressure in the sense that people know they need to do and stand up for what is right. And sometimes people just need a little encouragement to do that, and we all need to be that encouragement. And then once we get everything going and once people start coming together, then we let go of it, and we don't own it, because it's a community thing. We're allowing it to grow organically. We're allowing our voices to be heard, not as separate voices, but as one voice. And this is how we're going to get people to notice us, and this is how we're going to put pressure on our officials to start listening to us and stopping this terrible spraying program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you want to say that? Okay. All right, well, I'm not going to take up anybody's airtime. I know what it's all about, and
thank you for calling. I'm very excited to see you guys on Wednesday.
Us too. So have a great evening, Russ and Kelly, and we'll be seeing you on Wednesday, Kelly.
All right, I love you. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Real quick, we got a couple more callers, but what are a couple tips if people want to form an event in their area? We keep talking about how easy it is. What do they have to do to set it up?
What they they need to do is they need to be motivated to, whether if they can't get someone, if they can't get a few people, then they should do it themselves in order to help get, to get the juices going. But what they need to do is start a Facebook page. This is what I did. I started a Facebook page, and I named it for my area, Bay Area, and Bay Area Residents Against Chemtrails Geoengineering. Then I went to I went to all three: Flickr, YouTube, Facebook. I looked up people who were recording this crime in my area. I wrote them a personal email message. Sometimes I had to write them a few times. And then I started getting people coming into my group. It took about 8 months, but that's how I did it. I'm sure there's other ways that it can be done. You could go on Craigslist, maybe put an ad up on Craigslist. You could make maybe a flyer. Sometimes you see those flyers on telephone poles where they'll have a web address for window cleaning. Well, why not do one for your geoengineering, anti-geoengineering group? Any of these ways are ways to get people to come together who understand or at least notice that there is something wrong with our skies, and they want to get more information, or they want to come together and stop this. And this is how we create our groups. Once we create our group, maybe we have a few people, maybe we have 10, maybe we have 50, then what we do is we all come together and talk online, or I guess you can have phone conferences like this, and we've had a phone conference for my group where we just push ideas around, listen to what everyone has to say, and say, okay, well, where should we protest? What should we do? And then someone has to set it. Someone has to set, okay, yes, we're going to protest in front of City Hall. And then, okay, sometimes people will be like, oh, well, I can't make it that day, or I can't make it that day. Too bad. You make the date. You make the date. You say, this is the date. This is the time that we're meeting. And then you go there. You show up there, make sure you have a colorful sign, make sure you have a colorful handout, make sure you have a flyer with some information. I know there are a couple people in my group, Nick and Noah, and they've made the DVDs, What in the World, Why in the World Are They Spraying? They hand those out to people, which are great, great documentaries and helping people get a handle on what is going on. And you just run the protest. I think our last protest was about, 2 hours. It's not that long. It's 2 hours. But you know what? In 2 hours, we reached, I think one person handed out over 300 flyers in 2 hours to people who didn't know anything about this program. Imagine that, that's 300. Oh, yeah. And exponentially, 300 flyers of information can turn into a whole heck of a lot of people in a short amount of time.
Yes, it can.
That is how you go about getting people and how you go about protesting and putting out information.
So not like, and what about notifying the police or getting permits?
Okay, so I haven't looked into that aspect. I may probably for my next one, depending on how many people show up for this one, and then I can get back to you on that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It could be 100 people, or my last protest I had of 35 people. The San Francisco police officers are stellar. At least to my knowledge, I've never had a problem with any of the officers here. They've always been completely kind, and so they were completely nice. We had no problem. I think as long as you're not rabble-rousing in a bad way, you're allowing people to move through, and if you don't have hundreds of people, if you have hundreds of people going to a protest, then I would certainly suggest that you find out who you need to call. I personally don't know who that is yet because I'm not in that situation yet. And if I do get in that, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably be in that situation, I'll let everyone know how that goes about in San Francisco. But I think if you just have a small group of people, you just go there and you're considerate, you're nice. I think when we were protesting in front of City Hall, they did not allow us to go on the building steps. We had to stay on the public sidewalk. But they didn't do anything. The people who were the security that was watching over the city hall did, they just watched us protesting out on the sidewalk. There was no problem whatsoever. A few times they weren't even there. So I think if you're just considerate and you're not being mean or too angry, you're doing this to really open people up. So you don't want to be too angry. You don't want to cause a commotion. You're doing this out of consideration for your community and to just get these toxic chemicals to stop spraying on us. So I think if it's under a certain amount, I think it's fine for anyone to go out there and just be on the public sidewalk, at least in America, or in your park or wherever you decide to have it. You can do that. But then if you get up into larger numbers, I suggest you call your officials about a permit.
Okay. Yeah, our local woman up here who's just been fantastic, Kim in Maine, I think she believed it was for the state of Maine, you didn't need a permit until there was 100 people. So, and that's probably very similar across the United States. And how cool is that? While you still have this freedom, go get 10 friends or 20 friends
No
and take some signs and go walk down the sidewalk, down a busy street.
All you have to do,
yeah,
you walk down your sidewalk.
Yeah.
Get a couple people to walk down your sidewalk. Or even if it's just you, make some flyers up and just pass them out on the sidewalk or in front of a store. It really is, it's not that scary. In fact, it's very satisfying because you're doing a great service for your community, and it's just a very loving, compassionate act of kindness.
Absolutely. We have another caller. How are you doing, caller? Welcome.
Hey, doing good, Russ. It's Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Helen.
Hey, Kelly. Just wanted to say again how great it is to listen to you. You are such an eloquent, and inspiring speaker. So I just wanted to say also that I think you're right on track with your intuition about the deforestation. I live in sort of a rural area, and that's really what I'm noticing. The trees are just taking a really bad hit here. And I just wanted to throw out about my garden experiment. I decided after my garden being ruined last year, I thought, well, I almost wasn't going to do one. And I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and do it. And I hoed it all up. I spent 3 days hoeing, and I added some rich black soil and put in fertilizer and lime and got the soil all conditioned, and went out and got some little plants that were nice and healthy from the store and put them out. I put out 8 tomato plants and a few peppers and some seeds, I put in. Well, the garden has only been out maybe 2 weeks. And I went out there today, and I can notice already some black spots on some of the tomato plants, on the leaves, and some of the plants are starting to look a little bit bumpy. The leaves on the squash plants, so this is not right. Something has done this because it's not the soil. My soil would be healthy. This is some kind of poison. These plants were perfectly healthy. They were grown in a greenhouse, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I'm hoping it's bugs or something. I went and put a little 7 dust around on everything, but I'll know if it keeps continuing to go downhill that it's definitely coming from the soil and the air.
And this is why it is very important for us to start going out and getting out there and getting this information out to people and protesting. And I want to say that I see in the queue that Kevin makes kind of an interesting point about, he says, is it Kim? I feel a difference in the intensity level from protest to peaceful demonstration. And that's a very interesting thing to say, and I just want to say something about that. I think that's a correct thing to say, but I think that when we come and gather for a protest, we're certainly protesting us being sprayed, and there is a certain element of forcefulness in saying, okay, we're protesting. We don't want to be sprayed anymore. But that does not have to get rid of the peacefulness that is being shown in our actions. Our words are protesting, but our actions are peaceful. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I also agree with what Helen was saying too. I've seen there's artifacts going on across the United States and around the world where we're seeing these artifacts on like plant leaves. We're seeing tremendous breakouts of mold and mildew. We're seeing these burnt spots on leaves all over, like somebody sprayed acid on them. I've seen that here in my own yard and in my own garden. She has seen that. She's having trees that fall over. In fact, last week, people listened to last week's recording of our program, and we have pictures where she narrates those things that she's experienced on her own farm property there. So
yeah, that's why we need to get out and protest this. I mean, how long are we going to let this go on? I mean, they're not only ruining our physiology, but they're also taking away our plants, our food. I mean, how can we allow this to go on? And the only people that are going to go out there and stand for this are the people who have the information, and that is us. That's us.
Yeah.
I'll just add real quick, and then I'll jump off here. But a friend of mine and I we had an arts festival in a little town here with the vendors and the booths, and we went to that, and I wore my "Why in the World Are They Spraying" shirt, and we carried our colorful literature, and so I had some nice business cards made, eye-catching ones with like a plane spraying, and then the top websites and the films listed on the back to view. And we really had a good time. I gave out 8 of the DVDs to some store owners that I knew, some vendors. I knew some people from North Carolina that were there, and a guy from Florida. So I got the word out that way. It wasn't really a protest, but we had a lot of fun. We had a great lunch. We had a great day. And so there's all sorts of ways for us to get out there and reach people.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll jump off now, and I wish you the best of luck on Wednesday.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll go somewhere, even if it's just me by myself with my
Well, you won't be by yourself. I'll be thinking of you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Helen.
Thanks, Helen. And that's, anyone who wants to have an event, if you need help, contact me at Global Skywatch, admin at Global Skywatch. We'll be happy to put you in contact with whatever help you need. If you need resources on the web, whatever you need, call. We'll find somebody who can help you or help you ourselves. And it's so simple to get out there and do this. It's not like some big legal thing we have to fill out permission forms and then wait for 4 months for it to come back and plan wait. Just go out there with your signs and do it. Next caller, welcome. I know who you are.
Yeah, hi Russ. Hello,
Hey.
Kelly. It's Mark in Southern Utah. How is everybody?
Hey, Mark. Nice to hear your voice
Hi,
again.
Mark.
Good to hear yours tonight too. Good luck with the protest Wednesday.
Thank you.
You know those brown spots, black spots that Helen was talking about? I think I'm starting to get them on my ears. Is that possible? Not sure.
Yeah, could be. Are you do hike a lot, so maybe you're outside.
Huh?
That's my email address. Hikes a lot. I've got a 17-miler tomorrow, so I don't know. I'll be coughing when I get home. But on a serious note, I want to recommend to everybody to just think about the way I've approached it here. And our local newspaper only comes out once a week, and I don't know, it's got probably 7,000 to 8,000 people it goes out to, but it goes out to representatives, senators read it, our commissioners read it, our councilmen read it, and I keep slipping. They're making it easy for me to slip these articles into the editorial section. Now, I don't know what it would be like doing that in San Francisco, but out here it's pretty easy. You get them. This last article was under 400 words, and it covered quite a bit of stuff. I sent it to Russ for perusal to have him add, subtract, change, whatever you thought. He just said it looks good, put it in. But the point is, I don't want people to forget that is a possible venue. Again, I'm in the small area in the Southwest, and it's working out perfect here for me to get to everybody.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's one of the forms of it. If it cost $1,000 to put an article in the Cron, for example, I think we could have a weenie roast out of Fort Funston where we sold aluminum and barium-free hot dogs.
Oh, that's too good.
So we're raising money for chemtrail awareness.
Oh,
Used to hang out on. I used to hang
that
out.
could be a protest in itself.
Yeah.
That brings up some interesting ideas that you could raise awareness about people being exposed to those metals by doing a little gimmick thing like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Good thought. The last thing I want to mention real briefly is that if you've ever wondered if the airlines are involved with this spraying, they 100% are. If my information I'm about to give you is wrong, then the military and the subcontractors are painting their planes. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying if I'm wrong with what I'm about to tell you, if I'm wrong, then the military is in fact painting their planes to look exactly like airliners. Because what happened to me about a week ago, maybe 5-6 days ago, I'm sitting in my office looking at a blue sky, and here comes one lone jet spraying the thickest, gooeyest looking chemtrail. I mean, it stood out like a sore thumb, totally persistent, coming kind of it was to the west of me, and then one thing it did that's very unusual, it made a 45-degree turn, and it kept spraying and spraying. Well, I fired a flight, it's called Flight Tracker, and I was able to identify the plane, and it was a Canada Airlines called WestJet, I think it's called. I might have mentioned this last week, but I've been doing this ever since last week, since I might have mentioned this to everybody. But I'm getting airliner after airliner after airliner, and not just the short. Most of what they do is the short chemtrails. And I told Rusted, I sent him a quick note, said I think that these short chemtrails are on days when they're not just completely inundating us, and what they're doing is they're showing the public, oh look, see everybody, these are just innocent contrails. So those other things you're seeing, they're not that important, but what you're seeing here is just a contrail, and they're not contrails. You can see sometimes when they're doing these false contrails that they leave the valve a little bit too open, and it gets a little bit too long. It's like there's no way that's water vapor that long. So I've got picture after picture of my computer screen and documentation with the camera to put the two together. That it's not. We know they're coming from jets, but I just want everyone to know that the airlines are 100% involved with this. And again, if they're not, then the military is painting their planes to emulate airliners. Which they might be. I don't know.
One interesting thing that I saw a video this last week that somebody had posted on YouTube that shows somebody on a commercial airliner, and there were little video screens on the back of the seats, and they videotaped the video screen showing where they were, and then they, in a single unedited shot, they moved over and looked out the window, and you could see the trails coming out of the jets. And then a little later, they showed the map again and went over to the windows and showed that the trails had stopped. Now, I had thought a long time ago, first of all, that the short trails that you're seeing, 99.99% of those trails are going to be chemtrails, even if they're short. And I'll tell you why. I actually saw this happen in Jamestown and in Bangor, Maine, twice, where the trails were all long, and then suddenly, on the same schedules they would fly, but all the trails became short. So there's some kind of an equipment change, and I wrote about that in an article called Plumes Change Overnight. And I saw this happen twice. And as a sky watcher, I end up noticing things that I guess the public might know, the public doesn't notice like this. So I was thinking, what a deception it would be if the military, and the military wants to fool you. I mean, they're going to do everything, and there is no expense too great because you're paying for it. There is no limitation on their resources. So if they want to convince people that regular jet airliners produce short contrails and that they're common, which is what they're trying to teach your children in school in the United States right now, why not paint a military tanker jet or some contractor jet to look like a commercial airliner, pull up beside another commercial airliner, let people videotape it out the windows, and let it release a bunch of big plumes? Well, that's exactly what you can find on YouTube, and YouTubers are trying to discredit the idea of chemtrails by showing these videos. The problem is this could very well be disinformation, because I know from my personal experience, besides the fact that pilots have called me and told me that they've never seen trails come out of jets, I know from my personal experience as a lifelong sky watcher, I've never seen a trail come out of my jets, traveling across the United States, living on military bases, going to jump zones and watching friends and family members parachute, going up with parachuters, flying across the United States. I've never seen a trail come out of a jet engine ever, ever. And I grew up in one of the busiest airspaces in the world. So people need to rethink the whole contrail thing. My personal feeling about it is that the 99% of the population will never see a contrail in their life, not a real contrail. They're extremely rare. I believe they do occur. I'll cut myself. I could go on and on about this, but they do occur. But they're extremely rare, and when they do occur, they're too high to be seen from the ground. So we need to be very skeptical thinkers about this.
Well, my thought too is that if they can fly a drone, a complete jet aircraft, completely remotely, certainly they can turn spray valves on and off on an airliner.
Well, absolutely. And the remote control of commercial-sized jets has been around since the early to mid-'60s.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
I saw something, and I'm not sure where I saw it, but someone was stating that some of the commercial pilots don't know that they're even spraying because it's completely it's remote, remotely turned on and off. Does anyone know if that's true, or has someone read about that?
Well, I think it's very possible because, like, I said, you can fly an entire jet airliner remotely, the whole thing, land it, take it off. I mean, certainly if somebody could be sitting in the control room with the GPS grid pattern all over the country and decide who's getting sprayed today and just hit a button on a computer, opens a valve on an airliner. I mean, I see it here all the time, and that's the only way I can explain it. And if we're not exactly correct, I think we're on the right track. And what this is all about is just getting everybody on this planet pissed off at them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that is it inconceivable for people to think that that we know that commercial jet airliners have very strict weight limitations. All airliners do, but they have weight limitations. They can only have so many people on board. They can only have so much luggage. They can only have so much parcel. And this is an argument that the debunkers are trying to use against people like us. But the fact is with the kind of resources that our government has and the military has, and the fact that they print their own money and they use their own your own tax money, and they have no limit to their resources, why couldn't they limit the number of people on jets, or take a part of the further back part of the jet, equip them with tanks and the dispersal equipment they need? Because this stuff, most of the patents I've seen, the majority of patents, not all, but actually disperse the stuff right into the engine, so the engine blows it out. So equip the jet and then compensate the airliners for the loss of revenue. Say, look, we'll compensate you so you'll have no loss, but you're going to participate in this geoengineering program if you want to stay in good standing with the FAA. Why not?
Wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't put it past them at all.
I just wouldn't. No, I mean, at this point, pretty much they're putting a clamp down on all of us in all realms. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that people need to, and I want to do a show on deception eventually, because people need to understand the depth of deception and how it actually works, how stories are made up about the death of Osama bin Laden, or all of these things that support the original story. It makes it so hard for people to believe, well, how can that all be a lie? People sit around and script this stuff. There are writers, and they don't realize that. And
get paid a lot of money too.
They are, and the thing that people need to realize is that the powers that be who are in charge of this program are offending the entire population of this planet. So they are going to do everything in their power to make sure they're not caught. No lie is too intricate. No expense is too large. Painting jet airliners is a drop in the bucket. That's nothing for them. Paint them, make them look however they want. Install special equipment that makes jet airliners make contrails now, so they can say, look, you're flying in a jet airliner and it has a contrail, and look, there's no special equipment that will let you see on there, but they have little things that maybe do for a short while just to fool you. I mean, the amount of deception that I have seen in certain industries like medicine or the industrial complex or in other industries, the pharmaceutical industry, is mind-boggling. And it's scary for many people to face. But we have to grow up and face and realize that deception is extremely profitable. In fact, the fastest way to make money in the world today is by using some kind of deception, involves some kind of deception. So these people...
I'm just looking on YouTube and just seeing how many disinformation agents are out there just on the web alone is just insane. I mean, how much money is being dumped into that?
Well, right, and I actually had a guy call me. He had a military buddy who was bragging about his new house on the water and how much money he was making. He's like, what happened? Apparently, the Army, after they both got out of the military, the guy's old commander called him, set him up in a business with 200 employees that sit in a room, create Facebook accounts, blogs, and websites that have disinformation in them. This is all they do. 200 guys sit around, and this guy was making a ton of money running this company for the government as a government contractor. The government basically set him up in business, and he was bragging to his buddy, and his buddy called me. He was disgusted by this, saying, "Do you know what you're involved in? You know, you're destroying this country." He's like, "Man, I'm getting rich."
Wow.
That's all
Yeah.
I care about.
Right, right. So this is very real. It's just, oh my gosh, it gets under my skin.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The last
Pretty maddening.
Yeah,
part
it
is,
is.
I want to thank Russ. I want to thank Kelly. I want to thank everybody that's on the internet watching and listening. I want to thank everybody that's on the phone connection. And I want to say that the geoengineers are spreading hate, and our group is spreading love.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
good
That's
on all
right.
of you people, man. Keep it up.
Likewise.
Well said. Thank you, Mark. Mark's here supporting us every week. He emails me during the week. I've had a long conversation. Mark has been a rock for us, so I really appreciate his work. He's taking pictures. He's documenting this stuff. He's writing letters. He's doing letters to the editor. Just wonderful, and I appreciate him so much. Caller, you're live. Thanks for calling in. Are you there, caller?
Hello?
Hello, that's you. You're live.
Oh, I didn't hear the cue come back on.
Oh, okay. How you doing?
This is Jim again. I've been following the conversation. I've got a couple things to say. You know, an airliner like that, you know, sure that we got people that can fly drones around, and we have you know, huge jets that can fly, you know, by themselves, but they always have a pilot in there with them just in case there's a malfunction or a problem. They never just fly a huge aircraft like that and land it. They don't land them by remote control. You know, but on the other hand, there's a lot of technology out there. You know, I wouldn't put it past them, but from my knowledge, they do not put an aircraft that size up there without a human at least having some sort of control over it.
Now, are you talking about any kind of jet? Because you know, I mean, if it was a military jet, you'd say the military wouldn't do that.
I was in the Air Force, and they could fly the planes. You know, they could put them on autopilot and such, and do things like that. But there has always been human control over an aircraft that size.
Right.
I'm not saying that they don't now, but from my experience, which was some time ago, you know, they would not put an aircraft that size up there without a human at least being able to control the aircraft if something were to go awry with the electronics in it.
Yeah, I've seen videos where, and I understand what you're saying. You're saying that that's generally, really, that's not the practice. I have seen videos where people have talked about that the technology's been available since the early to mid 60s to remote control large, you know, 727s or whatever, you know, DC-9s or whatever, that they could be flown completely under remote control, you know, so that they actually didn't need people on board. And so, and of course, with considering that military technology is so far ahead of what we know about it, sure makes sense to me. I mean, we know we've got people, whistleblowers coming out saying that they were steering hurricanes in the 60s. So they're trying to blow the lid off that and wondering, well, if you could steer hurricanes in the 60s, then why have you allowed all this damage to happen, in the meantime? So a lot of controversy about that, but I definitely tend to believe that its technology's probably been around for a long time. Whether or not they practice it, while you make a good point, probably wouldn't normally want to put that kind of stuff in the air unless you had some kind of human backup on board. But technology.
Well, I mean, you got to consider, if they had an airplane full of, whatever they're spraying out there, full of material, and it crashed without a pilot, and they were able to, spread the information about the plane's payload, it certainly wouldn't be good publicity for them.
Well, I don't think, the thing is that with the way that they run today's emergency, the way they handle emergencies like that, it's just like they usually would block off the area where the crash took place. So I don't know that even the information would get out because, you know what I mean? They control the site so tightly.
I hear you.
Yeah. I think that they probably could. I mean, they can do whatever they want. Basically, they do whatever they want, whether it's legal or not. And I think, they have very, very good ways of controlling who has access to what. So I know what you're saying, though. They certainly don't want to have a crash. I mean, I know a 707 crashed, I guess, a few years ago. But it was either takeoff or landing. It was, I think, near an airfield, I believe. Did you see that?
No, I don't recall.
Yeah, it was a tanker jet. In fact, I've got pictures of it on the Global Skywatch website. Let me see if I can bring them up for the live streamers.
Oh, you know what? I think I did see that.
I know what you're talking about.
A marshy area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
Yeah, I've got a whole series of pictures. A lot of them were from, and it's interesting because it could just be fuel reflecting with a light, but it could be some weird. It looks like silvery stuff in the swampy area. And I'm not saying it is or isn't. It could, maybe it's fuel reflecting because, probably the kerosene, I would imagine, floats
Absolutely.
I don't know, but it was an old 707 tanker. I mean, that was open. They publicly announced that it was a tanker. So, 707s are old jets and they're used as tankers these days. So, yeah.
And my other, I had a couple other things I want to interject was I'm not going to put it past anybody to do anything, but the amount of material that they need to carry in a tanker to be able to, fly around all day and spray, they would not have room to have passengers on board, in my opinion. I'm not
That's
saying
what I was thinking too. How would they do
but
that?
these things fly around all day long and go coast to coast, whatever. And in my view, they have specific aircraft set up for exactly that purpose. And I doubt personally that they use civilian airliners to spray.
So do you think when people are using a lot of people use the plane tracker, and then they match the plane that is spraying above them to a specific airline? For example, Korean Airlines has been caught spraying. So you think that plane is not doing any sort of commercial flight? It's a feigning. It's just it's being used to look as if it's a commercial flight, but in actuality, it's just full of the tankers?
That would be my guess. And who's to say that they're not manipulating the information about what aircraft that really is?
No, I do. Absolutely, yeah.
So,
that's true. I mean, it does have. I've seen them where it shows the Korean Air markings or whatever airliner it is that has the commercial air. I mean, so maybe they are repainting these planes and making them making them seem as if they're just commercial flights, so people don't question how many unmarked planes there are up in the sky.
That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all really just guessing. I mean, we know something's going on, but until we get cold, hard evidence, until we get a plane up there to sniff what's actually coming out of those planes, that's going to be our smoking gun. We can look at them all day long and say, hey, there's a chemtrail, but...
Well, I can assure you they are never going to allow us to get a plane that close to a plane to check out and see what's coming out of there. I mean, that's just, I think someone from the EPA told someone to do that. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Madison, yes. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure. As soon as we got any plane near something like that, it'd probably be shot out of the sky.
Well, if the government has nothing to hide, and they say they're not...
Yeah, I think that may have been her point, is that, hey, if you're not hiding anything, then let us inspect your planes.
Yeah, exactly.
But
not only let us inspect your plane, but, I mean, it's our tax dollars. Give us an airplane to base here at Moffett or someplace.
Yeah, well requested.
Out there and say, all right, go check that airplane right there. Sniff that one. And then they see another one fly by. Go sniff that one. Give us something to work with. It's our tax money. Yeah. Let us know what's going on.
Exactly. And I'm going to respond to something you said earlier, too, is you were talking about getting hard evidence. Let me say this, and I sound a little bit like a broken record, but everything I say is not going to be repeat. When you have a criminal trial and you have a witness, and the witness saw the perpetrator or the suspect in the same room with a gun pointing at the victim, then that's hard evidence, and that can be used to convict somebody. And what we are doing when we're using our sense of vision is we're using one of our five senses. Okay, we have five senses, and they're pretty reliable enough to be used in court. Did you walk into that room? Did you smell gas? Did you smell propane? Oh, wow, there must have been a leak then. So we've got witnesses saying they smell propane. So we can use our senses, and that can be used in court, and that's hard evidence. And I want to state, I say this all the time, but I want this record to be over and over again. I'm one of the sensitive people that smell and taste chemtrails. I smell and taste them so intensely, they cause me headaches. My business partner, the way she feels, reacts with the intensity in the air. There are different types. The different types affect different people in different ways. But I, with my two senses, my sense of smell and taste, have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. I know, being a lifelong sensitive sense of smell and taste person, I know what it means to walk on a seashore and smell and taste the salt in the sea. I know what it's like when you're near a lake and you have that algae or that water. I know what it's like when there's lightning in the area and you can smell the ozone, or when rain begins and you smell that musty, grassy, or when somebody cuts a lawn, or when somebody sprays fertilizer up the street. I mean, I have lived with this. I understand scent and taste. And my testimony is recorded live, and I want it everywhere, that there is no question that the stuff that is in the air, these chemicals and metals, are absolutely horrendous, and they're kept just below the threshold of the general of a normal person's sense of smell and taste. Because when they become really intense for me, then the people around me start saying, yeah, I do taste the pasty. I had somebody just yesterday say it's like I'm in a room with drywall sometimes. When they're working with drywall and you get I'm like, yeah, in fact, that's one of the chemtrail names that I named it, is drywall dust type, because it's like drywall dust. It has a very similar taste and smell. It's the same. You get that pasty thing, but I actually taste it anyway. So that I want people to remember that there's a certain percentage of us sensitive people at the low end, or way down there on that bell curve, who are very sensitive, who this is just plain as day. We witness this with our senses every single day.
The problem with that, Russ, which I noticed that the disinfo agents and whomever is in charge of trying to confuse people, and what they've been doing, obviously, for decades, is taking people's ability to be able to observe things for themselves and saying that their observations are not valid, and it's only these experts whose observations are valid, and these experts are grounded in science.
That's right.
And it goes back to your whole deception thing, that people are being deceived to not rely on their own sense of ability of being able to view, smell, taste, record, and they're taking that away from people in some strange manner.
Yeah, this is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Which is causing the great amount of disinformation and confusion for those who are just becoming aware or have been pointed out what is going on in the sky.
That's absolutely right, and I would address that by saying you're 100% right. I would address that this way. This is in the elite's own literature, and this is one of my favorite subjects is deception. Not because I like to do it, because I don't, because I hate liars and thieves, believe me, but because it is the biggest problem we have in the world today. Imagine if it was physically impossible for everyone to lie. What would happen in the world overnight? It would be amazing. Now, what you're saying about people not being allowed to be qualified as observers, this is written in the elite's own literature, and it's called scientism. They wrote that this was part of their plan. I'm not speculating. You can go read William Cooper. Go to the Orbis Vitae website on the homepage, ORBIS, be like boy, ORBIS, VITAE.com. It means circle of life in Latin. On the homepage, listen to William Cooper's series on Mystery Babylon. He talks about scientism. And this is the elite's system of doing exactly what you said. They said years ago, a few decades ago, this is what they were going to do, is remove people's ability to witness things and to act as witnesses and require that you have to have a specialist, that you had to have a scientist or someone who was quote unquote qualified to do it. And that was how they were going to gain control of information. And that's exactly what we're seeing, yes.
It's amazing, actually, because when I talk to people and I say, oh, well, look, I've noticed trails on this day, the barometric pressure was the same as this day, yet this day we didn't have any, and this day we did, and if you notice that the plane is too low, and so you present these observational scientific facts to people, and they will say, well, you know, the expert from Scientific American said that there's no way that that this could be going on because there's warm pockets in the air. So sometimes you'll have the contrail, and then other times it'll hit a warm pocket, stop, and then it will start again, which is absurd.
Yes, it is absurd.
Absurd.
It is absolutely absurd.
Fall on these supposed experts, not realizing that these same experts are completely paid to put science on its head.
That's right. That's right, and it's been blown open in the last decade, especially the last 5 years. It's been blown open that medical journals have been comprised of many, many ghostwriters. There have been the people don't even exist have written some of these journal articles that support the pharmaceutical drugs. Doctors who don't write the articles are paid to say that they do. The passage of aspartame, what I'm about to tell you, was actually on 60 Minutes. And most people don't even know this, and it's mind-blowing. It was actually on 60 Minutes. It aired one time and never aired again, is that they paid a technician $30,000 that they fed these rats rat food, and in the rat food there was aspartame. But guess what? The aspartame, it was actually a component of aspartame. It was the phenylalanine. It was in big chunks. That was too big for the rats to eat. So they ate around it and left the chunks. So they never ingested the chemical they were testing. And the technician threw the chemical away and then reported on his report that, they ingested it. So the rats didn't get sick, and they were like, oh, phenylalanine, I think it was phenylalanine they were testing because that's one of the components of it. Oh, it's safe, it's fine. That's a bribe. That's a lie.
I think this is probably, you know, now that we have the Stanford scientists and the Livermore lab scientists speaking out about geoengineering and how just wonderful this thing's going to be to just stop global warming. I think this is the kind of tactics they're going to use on the people to convince them that, oh, this isn't harmful, this is okay, because this is what, you know, our Stanford scientists have said.
Right, right. And people, and this is what I love about like farmers, for instance, or these personality types who haven't forgotten to trust your senses and to trust your common sense. And I'm not trying to credit farmers with all of that, but it's a stereotype that you've got this person who understands that if somebody comes and tells you to doubt what you see and taste and smell and says, oh, you didn't see that, you didn't taste it, you didn't smell it, you should suspect the person, not your own ability to sense things. Use your common sense, trust your senses, and don't ever abandon the common sense that you've had all your life.
But it's so critical that we remember that our senses are very important, and to rely on our senses. That's how science was born, was through observation and recording, and they're trying to take that away from us, and they're trying to give it over to these experts, and that is just absolutely a lie.
Right, and the process of giving it over to experts is a process of centralization of power. You'll notice everything in the world today, and this comes right under the realm of deception once again. Everything today is going under centralization. You're talking about European Union, where you're taking all the countries and you're putting them under one body. Then you're talking about the New World Order, where you're taking all of these bodies and you're putting them under one unit. And the reason you want to have specialists as the only people who are qualified to make observations is because you can't control the whole public. But if you have a much, much fewer number of people who have a degree hanging over their head, who have big, well-paying jobs hanging over their head, you can control them. Or you can pay a small, I'm not saying they're all controllable, but I'm saying that you can handpick some of those and pay them.
And then make the rest fall in line.
They will fall in line because you'll ridicule them so badly in the media and in the journals that if you don't fall in line, you'll look like a fool and you won't be hireable.
And you won't get funding. They won't fund you.
In fact, that happened to Boyd Haley, and he says that in videos that are on the orbisvitae.com website that I have under the amalgam and under the autism, is that he discovered a crucial, critical link between autism and mercury. He did groundbreaking work, and all of his colleagues were saying, you're going to write your own funding check. You've got it made. They're going to fund you till you die. You are just set, man. You did great. And you know what they came back and said? Your study's great. We're going to pull all mercury-related funding. Why? Why did they do that? Because he was on the brink. That was the missing link that they needed, or we needed, to associate these diseases. And as a mercury toxic person who has a history of mercury toxicity, I know how it causes depression and suicidal thoughts and anxiety and panic attacks and social isolation and fears and phobias, inability to make commitments and anger and problems with sleeping and tons of other symptoms that went away virtually overnight. But you know what? Those pharmaceutical companies are making hundreds of billions of dollars every year by treating the diseases that are being caused by the very substance that they're putting in vaccines. And Boyd Haley was on the brink of blowing it wide open. And the NIH and the National Institutes of Medicine and the other funding organization, Institutes of Health, who provide that funding, are protective organizations for the pharmaceutical industry, just as the FDA is. And so they did their job. They protected the industry they're supposed to be regulating by pulling that funding and prohibiting the public from having access to that information, that vital research that should have been done.
It's amazing how many barriers they have set, but I think it comes down again to the truth cannot be buried. It may be buried in pieces, or it may be buried for a time, but ultimately lies, and then they start conflicting one another. So, these are the people that we need to reach in order to create our own social pressure and create our own pressure, and to open up people's minds to trust themselves, to be able to make those observations, and to be able to critically think and take back their critical thinking skills again, and to feel empowered, because when we are and when they take away, or they don't really take away our critical thinking skills, it's really feigning. We always have them, but once we reclaim them again for ourselves, and we start realizing that what is going on is absolutely wrong, then we can start coming together and getting more people to come together to create the social pressures that we need, and to show our officials that we're not going to deal with this crap anymore. And we're going to come out, and we're going to speak out, and we're going to protest not just the spraying program, because the spraying program is just part of much larger things, as we all know. And we're going to come and create a protest against this, and get our numbers together so they can't, stamp us down into the dirt like they have been.
Right. Yeah. Very well said. Yeah, the whole deception topic just gets me going, as you can tell, because it just, countless people have died. Countless people suffer. I suffer every minute of every day because the air never clears anymore. Early on, the first several years, it would clear. It would get very intense, and then it would clear, very intense and clear, and go up and down. It doesn't clear anymore. It never clears. Even when it gets mild, it's still down at what I call 10% intensity, and that's about as low as it ever goes anymore, because it's spread out, I believe, to the entire global atmosphere, or at least so much of the northern hemisphere that it can't clear unless they would stop for a period of time. So the whole deception process that these people have pulled on the public has caused so much death and suffering that it's unfathomable. And the only way we're going to return it is by being brave, by being courageous. And so we have to be willing to go out there and bring our signs, wake up the rest of the public, and like you said earlier about social pressure, and breaking the ice. Don't be afraid. When you spark, when you're the first person out there, you're going to make it so much easier for everyone else to speak up. So if you don't have an event in your area, be the spark to light that fire. Go out there and do it. And again, kudos to Kim. Thank you, Kim, because you're the spark in Maine. We need people in Portland. We need people in Bangor. We need people in Augusta. We need people in other towns to be that spark and to get this thing going. And don't be afraid. You've got to be courageous. That's the only way that we can turn this around.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. I'm exhausted.
I feel like I got a weight off my back.
Wow. Okay. Well, well, Jim, thanks for being on. I know this is probably the longest program we've had. Mark just popped on. I know he has something he wants. I just saw him pop on, so let me unmute his mic. I know we'll have to wrap this up in a minute, but I mean, most of our people have stuck with us. I mean, we've got just about all the same number of people on the call and on the stream. I know hundreds or thousands of people will hear this stream, which is live at globalskywatch.com /live, and then in the left sidebar, click recorded programs. And we archive every one of these, and now they're all in video thanks to our live stream account, which we're dishing out of our pocket $50 a month to have this account. But this is our donation to the cause, along with everything else. So just please, I hope people will go out there. It's worth it if people will go out there and do this. But I do too. I'm exhausted, but I feel relieved. Mark, how you doing?
Doing great. Regis Philbin's off the air now, and you guys banter so well, they'd like to propose a national arrest and Kelly show.
Oh,
great. I'm serious. I loved it.
Well, Kelly is just so articulate. She speaks so well, and it inspires me to just try work harder and be better at it. So
I think you're pretty good at it, right?
That's great.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I just appreciate that Kelly was the spark for San Francisco, and the other people who are participating are that flame that's going to get this thing turned around, so I don't have to live like this. All the other people are suffering.
There's a lot of good people in our movement, highly intelligent, highly motivated, and I just think this is a good beginning, and it's building up, obviously, and people are responding because they do know that something is wrong, and it's up to us to get this information to people. So many very highly intelligent people in our movement, which is, it's what's needed in order to help people understand the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're making progress, and people are starting to honk at you. And I got called last week. I got called by an old high school buddy who's on Facebook. He said I'm a nut job. Yeah, he said I'm a nut.
I'm paid for every time I was called that.
And that wasn't for chemtrails. That was for something else. And just today, just late this afternoon, just before the show started, I had another friend from high school, completely different. They don't even know each other, I don't think, called me, or no, not me, actually called another person a loon who was standing up for the same thing I was.
Those are all fear-based reactions, though. People don't want to, it's hard for people to come to terms with, like we were talking earlier, because, if they're going to notice that, yes, we are being sprayed, we're not being told about it, that just opens up a whole realm of different situations that have happened in the past that need to be looked into. And just people it's a scary thing at first, but you know what? We can't live our life in a lie. I mean, most of us don't want to live that way. And for some, it just takes us to give them the compassion and the support to come to the realization that all is not well.
Absolutely. Mark, we went off here again. You still on here?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to be a smart ass for a second.
Okay.
Well, you certainly got my vote. That's like that's my thing, is being a smart ass. So.
There you go. All right.
Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. I look forward to chatting with you again.
Right on. Same here. Mutual.
All right, man. You take care.
Best wishes, Kelly, for one of these days we're going to pop in.
Oh, I would love that.
But I think I'm going to take a horse-drawn cart rather than a jet to get there.
Well, make sure you put your Stop Chemtrails on it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just real quick, I Googled that during our conversation, and I came up with between 50, in addition to all the crap they spray in the air that they add, there are between, I mean, this is dramatic, between 50 million and 200 million, somewhere in between 50 million and 200 million gallons of jet fuel burns every day in the upper atmosphere.
Wow.
Is that insane?
That is.
I've been telling people, I thought it was like 1 million, so I Googled it, and some people have done some research and some math on it. It's like, in addition to the nanoparticle particulates, there's a lot of exhaust being sprayed around up there.
Yeah. Yeah, there sure is. I mean, that's a whole nother issue that, I mean, when you see when you're in an airport and you see a jet take off, you see a black soot, which is indicative of kerosene. I mean, jet fuel is essentially kerosene. It's like a, very, very, very close relative. I mean, and you see this black soot that follows the jet, a carbon, like a hydrocarbon after it's burnt, soot thingy. That's what you expect. And there's a lot of that falling to the ground.
Yeah, a lot of it goes up and wreaks havoc on the ozone.
Yeah. Well.
All right, guys. Great talk. Great
to hear your voice.
Well, thank you.
Same here. Thanks, man, for being here.
Likewise.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Kelly, it is 11:18 on April 22nd, 2013. My adrenaline is flowing. I feel like the world's lifted off my shoulders because I got to say a few of the things I want to say. We've got to do a show on deception.
I would love to.
Oh, well, maybe I'll have to have you back on that show. And because deception, I'll tell you, when you start lifting, one of the great ways I think to lift the veil off people's eyes is show them the deception that's right in front of them. Show them these things that they've looked at and become so used to they never think twice and say, look at that this way. Look at why that's there. Think about why they said this on the news that way or this way. And people, I mean, that almost always works with people. And they start looking at that, and it is a great gateway for opening their minds up.
Oh, absolutely. The subtlety of language being abused is is great on television and just everywhere, and ads everywhere. You know, even just you can just take that one ad. I'm not sure what it's for, but it shows all the chemtrails in the sky, and it says streamers, or these are streamers. You know, it's just amazing how we are subtly brainwashed through just small turns of phrases or putting images with words. And this is just all a part of keeping us not able to critically think and locking down our minds. So when people try to open them, we have those mechanisms built to not listen to people. But I think it'd be interesting to hear a show on deception for sure.
Absolutely.
It all ties into the spraying and what's going on and why people can't see it. And when they are pointed out to it, maybe some people can't even see it when you point it to them. So it's very interesting.
Well, you know, you said it ties into chemtrails, but you know what? It ties into every one of these issues. Every one of them involved. GMOs are what they're covering up. The studies that show your liver damage, your kidney damage, the changes in your blood, your immune system, you know, fluoride, the additives in fact, all of these things involve incredible deception, cover up, and lies in order to facilitate the harm.
And it's almost now these days, because of the internet and because we have so much access to so much information, they put, instead of just putting a little information out, they put tons of information out. Information that opposes, information that's for it, information that sits on the fence. And I think this is a general deception too for people. So they either they can't find the correct information that they need, or when they do get the information, it's sandwiched in with a bunch of disinformation. It's all very, very sordid.
Yeah, they even that very fact. You're good at this. Wow, you're good at this. You lead right into things, boy. I'll tell you. That is another thing that's right out of the elites literature. Is they talk about how they will overwhelm people with information so that they can't discern one thing from another. Constant babble, constant talk, constant opinions on every side, so that people just get exhausted.
And once you can pinpoint what's going on, and you start seeing the subtlety of arguments or of positions that people take or issues take and how they grow into them, you are able to discern where the deception is happening.
Yeah.
And then you start understanding what's going on, and then that just leads right back to being able to open up our own critical thinking facilities in order not to be swayed by these eloquent terms of speech that they put out there for us all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we just had, you're not going to understand this when I first say this, but the glue just called. We got a caller that I know who she is. I can, because I see her information on the console. I call her the glue, and she's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see if she's, let's try this again. All right, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Well, Kelly, I apologize. Right in the beginning of the call, Richard Sachs called me, so I got pulled away, and I was not able to hear all of what you guys were talking about. I missed everything, and I apologize because I wanted to wish you, best regards for this Wednesday.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to give you guys a couple of updates of some stuff that has come across my desk or my consciousness.
Now, is this, you want to do this publicly? We're live, so.
Oh, we're on the thing. It's being recorded.
Yeah, this is being recorded. So if you
Okay.
well, I'll tell you what. I'm about to end. So if you want to stay on the conference, I will end. We're about ready to end anyway, and then you.
Okay, I don't mind what I'm going to say to be recorded. I mean, it's.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
You're right. It's up to you.
I just wanted to warn you because it sounded kind of important. So.
Oh, it is important because one of our leading activists. For those of you guys who don't know who she is, her name is Laura Eisenhower, and Laura is a master astrologist and alchemist. She's a very, very high frequency lady that really, and she's a very, very special person. I consider her a holy person. And she was invited last week to go on Russell Brand's show. I don't know if everybody knows who he is, but he's this English guy that's an actor and comedian, and he has a live talk show in LA called Brand X. So Laura went down and was on the program, and as she began to speak about all these critical issues that humanity is facing now, he kept cutting her off, and he was extremely rude to her. She was able to get out some of the key words about the chemtrails and Agenda 21 and that type of stuff. But, this is a stab at having one of our major, very well-known activists being, pummeled by a moron that's got a mainstream TV public forum. I wanted to report that nobody should support Russell Brand on any of his endeavors going forward because he was mean and very disrespectful and abusive to Laura on live TV, and I get really miffed because, number one, she is, for all of you who don't know who this woman is, she is a very, very special human being and is of such high energy and vibration. She completely understands what is going on here, not from a planetary aspect, from a whole global, universal, galactic perspective. And she has been a wonderful proponent and activist for us. This guy Russell Brand was a major turd to her. And Fox is the broadcast group that he's with. And I think the comments coming back was that he made an ass out of himself, and that she was out there trying to really help us out in mainstream media, and she was very disappointed that, number one, she was treated that way, but she wasn't able to discuss, and she's super articulate about the points and how everything connects, because he kept cutting her off. So I would just ask everyone on this call to send love and light to Miss Laura Eisenhower, because she is a very positive force for us. She is a well-known person. Dwight D. Eisenhower was her great-grandfather, and she's a good gal, and I just really hate it when anybody is trying to undermine our people or disrespect them. So I wanted to let you guys know about that.
Well, thank you for that. My encouragement would be that if she's trying to talk about these issues, she's trying to bring up chemtrails so that people can protect themselves and stop this from happening. One day, not long from now, he is going to be in hot water with the public if he didn't let her say those things. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is that as long as she said the words, as long as she got something out there, even if he's making fun of it, then at least thanks to her that she made that effort, and those, she got the word out. Some people will hear words like chemtrails or geoengineering that they never heard before, and that will definitely help.
Right, and Russ, as we all know, our opportunities at making a stab at this with mainstream media are little to none.
Yeah.
And being the goddess, you know, the divine feminine that this woman is, and trust me, I don't give these compliments out very often to human beings, but this lady is a gifted, special human being. You know, was afforded that opportunity, did get a few words out. She brought up the fact that the Kristen Megan has come forward to assist us in whistleblowing. She couldn't remember Kristen's name. She got a little flustered, but she did bring up the fact that there's a video up there and that this young woman from former military person has come forward to tell the truth. So she did get a few of the buzzwords out there for us, which is great, guys, because, you know, mainstream media is not catching this, okay? And on another subject, I don't know if John Massaria is on the phone with us. Is he on the call tonight?
John, if you're on, you can hit *6, and I can put you on. I'll let you know.
Okay, apparently not. Okay, so I personally have been courting Abby Martin for months and months and months, trying to get her attention to our issue. And come to find out, she, I think, knows John from Facebook. So I approached her last week about, you know, the fact that she's not addressing our issue. And I did get her attention. I spoke to Dane, and he is preparing a brand new special data, a scientific report that we'd like to give Abby Martin the first shot at as far as a journalist, mainstream journalist, to take a look and maybe discuss this. Now, we don't know whether we're going to be successful because RT, you know, again, this is more mainstream. They may not want to touch this with the 10-foot pole, but you know, behind the scenes, I'm kind of working some stuff, trying to get things moving, and you know, it's a slow road going to get even alternative journalists to pay attention to us. But nevertheless, I'm not stopping. So I want to give you the update on that. Hopefully, Miss Martin is going to give me her email address, and then we will give her the first shot at taking a look at this report that Dane is preparing to see, you know, if we can garner RT's attention and get them to start talking about this.
Excellent.
I think it all comes down to social pressure and to getting enough of us together to speak out publicly and to get the community involved.
Yeah.
I agree. And coming at it from every angle that we can, you know, I'm very, very grateful to, you know, every single one of these people that I've met and had contact with here in the United States and then in other countries. You know, we got to keep going so that we reach critical mass. Phoenix down here was clear all last week, and then boom, you know, they started up. But what I'm noticing, instead of having about 6 jets, they've only got a couple of them deployed now, and they're doing short bursts. So they're not. They actually need about 6 jets here to cover the Phoenix area, and for some reason they don't have all the equipment up there. So, you know, I'm grateful for having a break here in Arizona for, you know, several days. But you know, they're not going to stop. I mean, we have to keep going. I think everybody realizes that.
Even if they spray for a half an hour on one day a year, it's wrong, and it shouldn't be going on.
Right. And while you guys were having the discussion, Richard Sachs called me. He's an activist that's up in Sedona, a very good friend of Dane Wigington, and he and I are becoming fast friends. And, you know, my understanding is that Dane is going to put together some kind of a program with Richard himself, Russ, and another man by the name of Howard to do some more broadcasting, I believe on Saturdays, is my understanding. So hopefully, you know, that's underway. And, you know, we have 4 really, really articulate gentlemen, Richard being one of them, and Russ and Dane, and another guy named Howard. Richard was conveying to me earlier during the show while I was talking to him and you guys were talking, that he wants to absolutely not just focus on chemtrails, but take all the component pieces to this puzzle and put them together for people that are unaware of the entire, framework of this entire, operation that they're doing. And I think you guys were touching on that a few moments ago. We need to take it, number one for me is the chemtrail situation, but there's so many other parallel situations going on, the Monsanto, the Agenda 21, so, the whole thing is all interconnected. It's very important for us. We're all up to speed here for the most part. I think we've kind of had the same group of people over and over here again, but as we branch out, we need to educate people on all the different components and how all these pieces of the puzzle are put together. So,
the thing also I want to state is that with protests, and this is just being socially conscious of other people and being introduced to these things, I don't think we should overload their minds. Because if we overload their minds, they're just going to drop off.
And no. Kelly, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean when you go out on Wednesday to overwhelm people, but I'm saying on an ongoing basis.
Yes.
So we need to think in terms of as we slowly get people on board and educate them. I mean, you can't, throwing this one thing at them is overwhelming enough. Everybody's been conditioned here. I mean, this is hundreds and, this has been going on for a very, very long period of time. So to break out people that are stuck in cognitive dissonance, which is exactly what's happened here to the majority of the human beings on this planet, it's a slow process to educate them. But nevertheless, because we understand how all the pieces fit together, it depends on who your audience is, who you're dealing with, who you're talking to. I think you guys understand. You take a different approach depending on who the person is or the group of people are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very well said. And I do, I like everybody. One thing that I promoted for a long time in trying to wake people up is having everybody do things in their own style, because you attract different types of people. And so even though you're exposing generally the same type of information and you're opening people's minds up to what's going on, so-and-so might attract one type of person and so-and-so might attract another different type of person, but all together you're all kind of working together. And so even in a program like that, because Dana's spoken to me about that, I really look forward. In fact, I emailed him last week about it, wondering if there's any update on progress, but not yet. Don't have any dates set yet. But in a program like that, is whatever approach we take, it's another piece of the puzzle. It'll attract a certain group of people that are attracted to that type of format, and it'll help. It'll be another big piece of the puzzle.
Right, because the fact of the matter is we are making contact with academics in the Ivy League situation in the universities. These people, the educated people, they are definitely hip to what's going on. It's a matter of them having to make the decision of coming forward. But I think people might be surprised here that there's a lot of people that actually do know what the hell is going on, and that the public policy and pressure will aid us. Absolutely, and it is aiding us. And, any false flag situations that are occurring, which we believe, I believe, will continue to occur, are merely in place as distractions, rolling on negative energy, fear, and disinformation. And just expect more of this crap to happen, because this is the only MO that they know. This is their practice of these PSYOP and black flag situations. That's their MO, and they never vary from their theme. It's real easy to recognize the stuff, and they're going to continue to do that stuff. So, they're getting desperate, and we just got to keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. What a night this has been. Boy, this is the longest show we've had.
Well, people are still with us.
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, we've got, I'd say 75% of our people are still with us. So
I just want to say one thing is when I was saying that we just need to focus on one thing, what I was referring to mostly is to people who are getting out and protesting for the first time, you know, getting their feet wet. And of course, we all have our ways of getting out our information, and we are all knowledgeable in certain facets of this huge paradigm. But I think for, you know, being that I'm doing the chemtrail protest and for people who want the spraying to stop, I think it's good for us to focus on one thing when we do go out there. If we are just starting to protest, just so we don't get too scattered, so we don't scatter our energies nor our group's energies, and to keep people on point.
How many people do you expect, Kelly, this time? What do you think you're going to get?
Well, I want hundreds, but I don't know. I had 35 last time, and if I were to be, I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to jinx it at all, but it seems like it's going to be more than 35 this time.
Is Deb Whitman got a busload of people coming down from
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
Okay. Yeah.
well, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, I'd like, what I want to do is I want everybody on this call to give you a thanks, and then I want you to finish up by reminding people what they can do. So I'm going to unmute everybody's mic, and here we go.
The session is over.
And would everybody please say a big thank you to Kelly?
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm so excited to be with everyone. I'm so grateful. You have no idea the type of healing everyone has given me just by being here and for us all being focused on trying to stop this.
Thank you so much. I love having you here because you're so articulate and you're just, you get your points around across so well. And what I'll do is I'd like to have you say whatever you'd like to say to everyone to wrap this up, and then I'll open up the mic and let everybody chat together. What would you like to say?
Well, I would like to say that if there's anyone listening and they are hoping to have a protest in their town and they're looking for a protest or information on the protest starts with you. So you need to be the person who starts the movement in your area. So please, consider starting a Facebook group or any sort of social media group that you can, or ask Russ to help you with getting a blog or anything set up online so you can draw people to come together in your area to get in front of your city hall and start gathering people to make the social pressure and to get the information out to stop this awful program.
Absolutely. Well, my thanks goes to Kelly and to all the folks in San Francisco. I've also spoken before with Paul Mack in Australia, who they're having monthly or quarterly, I forgot now, it's either monthly or quarterly events in Australia, across Australia and New Zealand. To Max Bliss, Mona Norman, Alex Longman, the other crew in the UK, the Chugaboo people, well, that's Max and Mona and friends. My thanks goes out to all of you who are helping to bring awareness to this subject so that people like us, like me, who suffer 24 hours a day from this, my quality of life has gone down 80%, and that's where I live, and that's when it's good. And even though I might sound like I'm strong or healthy on the phone, I'm putting my effort forth to sound that way, because I'm going to go walking around like a, I'm going to be walking around like an older man here shortly after I get off. But just thank you to all of you. Please join us next week. The subject of next week will be determined soon, and our guests, and will be posted at globalskywatch.com/live. You can also go to our Facebook group at called Chemtrails Global Skywatch. And if you need any help Like Kelly said, if you need any help with websites, blogs, if you don't understand how it works, you don't know the first thing about it, whatever it is, I am delighted to help you with the process. So please, please do not hesitate to contact Global Skywatch and be happy to help you get your website or blog or whatever you need, your live stream set up so that you can be successful in your endeavors. Take care, everybody. Take care of each other. I'm going to open up the mic so we can all talk. Have a good night, and please join us next week, globalskywatch.com/live. Good night.